This is not a dream. Not a dream. We are using your brain's electrical system as a receiver. We are unable to transmit through conscious neural interface. You are receiving this podcast as a dream. We are transmitting from the year 1999. You are receiving this podcast in order to alter the events you are seeing. Our technology has not developed a transmitter strong enough to reach your conscious state of awareness, but this is not a dream. You are seeing what is actually occurring for the purpose of podcast. I put podcast in there 3 times.
I was just waiting for it. I don't know. I didn't know what you were going to do.
I don't know either. Frankly, I don't know either.
That's okay. You did great.
If you'll let me be frank, I don't know either.
No, it was good. It was good. It was really good.
I don't know.
What if they opened the cylinder and Kevin Spacey came out in the apron and he said, "Let me be frank"?
Let me be frank.
You said, "Let me be frank." I had to invoke it.
No, of course.
Talking about the Prince of Darkness, after all.
Exactly, right? This movie is about anti-God, so we should mention Kevin Spacey as early on as possible. He has no involvement in this movie, but it's clearly a Carpenter trying to weigh in on the Spacey shit 25 years early. Right?
He's warning us about the future. What happens in 1999? American Beauty.
Oh, no.
Keep it, keep your third eye open.
We give that guy a second Oscar, all hell will break loose.
Is that post-K-Pax or pre-K-Pax?
Pre.
Okay.
K-Pax is his post-second Oscar. It was like, all right, Kevin, you can play a sunglasses-wearing alien.
K-Pax is definitely the canister starting to drip.
Right. Yeah.
K-Pax falls in line with this analogy. It's on the ceiling.
So what's the final manifestation of the evil then at that point? Well,
Let Me Be Frank.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, his most evil film. The first Let Me Be Frank, I think, right?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. Beyond the Sea, that was pretty evil. I'm trying to think of
but Let Me Be Frank is the final manifestation. That's when Satan has revealed himself.
Well, yes, that's right. Exactly. There's no pussyfooting around him.
It's a manifesto.
He is Satan. Hello.
Right.
Yes. Right. Oh, what a terrible start to the episode. Yeah. It's my fault.
Horrible. Yep.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have let you be frank. Hello, everybody. This is Blank Check with Griffin and David. I'm Griffin.
I'm David.
It's a podcast about filmographies. I'm going into full NPR mode right now for some reason. But it is a podcast about filmographies. Directors who have massive success early on in their careers and are given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. And sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they slowly seep out of a giant canister in the basement of a church, baby. And this is a mini-series we've been doing on the films of John Carpenter. It is called They Podcast because I was outvoted.
Oh, get over it.
I won't.
Enough.
I will not.
Get over it. It's the better option. I mean, all right, just say it. Just tell our guests what you were thinking of calling the miniseries.
I wanted to call the miniseries Podscape from New Cast.
Terrible.
As one does.
As one does. Not do.
No.
As one does. Guest, I will introduce you in a moment, but I would love to hear your opinion first.
All right, I've listened to all these episodes that have aired so far, and
okay.
Actually, Griffin, I'm not trying to kiss up to you, but I actually kind of like that one.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God.
Bad start. No. We are off to the wrong foot.
I'm sorry.
No, we're going to have to stop recording and start
fine,
over.
It's fine.
Our guest today is an esteemed film critic, a man of impeccable taste. Nary a wrong opinion. From the Last Picture Show and numerous outlets, Keith Phipps.
Hello, it's actually the Next Picture Show.
God damn it!
Yeah, I got it. Sorry. Well, see, but you still like me,
I did
right?
the Bogdanovich. Yeah. No, I do. I just thought about the movie you guys are riffing on rather than the riff that you guys have done on that movie title.
One of the coolest things that resulted from that podcast, by the way, is someone who worked at the theater that as that theater put our podcast name up on the marquee. So it was like
that.
Is
cool.
Keith, it's long overdue. Welcome.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. I'm a fan of the show, and I'm happy to contribute in any way I can to this Carpenter commentary.
And Keith, you are one of sort of the origin story figures for this show in terms of breaking David Sims.
Yeah. Well, Emily Vanderwerf deserves credit for discovering David Sims.
But we've given her a lot of credit. I'm trying to give you a little credit here.
Well, she sent him my way, and I put him on the, as we were
discussing.
I wonder
if I can find the email.
Yeah, we were just discussing pre-taping. We gave him the shows that nobody else wanted, or were sick of, or had toxic fandoms, and kind of threw him in deep end.
Keith and I were just talking about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Was that the first one? Do you remember what the
that was my
first
one?
Okay.
Yes,
At what point? When were you starting to recap that in the run of the show?
We're talking 2009. I found the email Tuesday, September 15th, 2009. Hi, David. Emily suggested you be a good freelancer to cover It's Always Sunny and forwarded me your resume and clips. I agree. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, that's me. And you don't know actually how tough it was at that point to get in, because I really did not want to hire very many freelancers. Emily was really key to like bringing in some more voices, but I treated that place like a band with a set membership for a long time. So you were part of the expanded lineup.
I was part of Emily's sort of TV freelancer kind of cabal that came in as the TV recap, online recap sort of culture began right around then. That was sort of the start.
For better or for worse, we made our contribution to that.
Yep. And Griff, to answer your question, that would have been, I think it's the fifth season of It's Always Sunny. So just to give you a sense of how fucking long that show's been on.
Yes. It's 16. Is the next season going to be 16 or 15?
The next season is going to be 15.
Okay.
It's the longest running live action sitcom ever now, right?
My entire paid career begins with It's Always Sunny, and I'm like, oh, it must have begun with season 1. No, season 5.
And it's still going. Can I fucking sidebar here for a second?
Yeah, of course you can.
I was recently in Los Angeles, City of Stars.
Sure. La La Land, yes.
I went to get drinks with some friends. In fact, writers on Masters of the Universe Revelation, a very non-controversial show that everyone is calm about online. Tim Sheridan, Eric Carrasco, Diamitra, great people. We were at this bar, and then it turned out it was a trivia night.
Okay.
Now, David, the cornerstone of our friendship is a trivia night.
That's true. That's how we really became close pals, as we've discussed.
Right. It was the second time we ever hung out. Pilot Viruet, another vet of AVClub, invites us to trivia. We become inseparable.
Right.
I would get competitive about trivia. I take trivia very seriously. I have very particular taste in terms of how trivia works. This was a general trivia night run by a man who, dare I say it, was a bit of a lightweight.
Oh, dear. And we have specific taste, I would say,
very,
when it comes to trivia masters. Yes.
Very specific tastes. He asked a question. It was the final round. We were I think we were tied for first place at this point. And his question was, name the top 10 longest running U.S. shows currently in prime time.
Top 10. Oh, currently in prime.
Currently.
Okay.
So we start just working on fucking network, right? Assuming those are the confines of what he's putting before us. And then, like, 5 minutes into the 8 minutes you have to work on this question, he's like, just to clarify, cable counts, syndication counts.
Oh, boy.
And
syndication counts?
Well, right. So we're like, what? By syndicate, are you saying anything that's in syndication? Are you saying just because things in reruns? Or what are you talking about? Currently airing or currently producing new episodes? So everything goes fucking caution in the wind. But then we realize, okay, well, now we know 3 of the ones that have to fit in here. Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the longest running comedy show, period. That must count. Then we're like, Archer, that's in season 12. That must count. And Curb Your Enthusiasm it's up to season 10. Okay? So we put those 3 down. None of them count in his eyes.
Oh, boy. This guy sounds like he blew it. And this also is a classic Griff rant of like, listen to this trivia screw up. Basically.
Yeah. But always
was there logic to this, or what was the explanation?
What were the answers?
Someone went up to him and brought up Curb. It was like the fucking things you think, right? So it was like SVU, The
NCIS,
Simpsons,
right.
NCIS. We didn't get NCIS LA. That was stupid. We thought it hadn't run that long. Blue Bloods we missed, and the third one we missed was Chicago Fire. Bob's Burgers counted. Family Guy counted. American Dad counted, even though it moved to TBS, but apparently FX doesn't.
Yeah, I don't think this, and none of these shows are like syndication, and only one of them is cable or whatever. Like,
I'm sorry, good sir. You're in an industry town. People are going to take the guidelines of this question very seriously. I'm forgetting what the other ones were, but it just drove me crazy. And someone went up to him and complained about him not including Curb Your Enthusiasm. His response was, "Well, it's HBO.
It's not TV. It's in the tagline there, actually. So,
but FX is TV." Anyway, today we're talking about a movie called Prince of Darkness. It's about a jar full of Satan.
It's wet Satan. It's basically wet Satan.
Yeah, John Carpenter's wet Satan, liquid devil.
This movie is so good. This movie fucking rules. Okay, I could not believe.
I need to say this right off the bat.
Okay.
I feel like I need to watch this movie like 2 more times. I felt very overwhelmed by this movie.
Why were you overwhelmed by this movie?
This movie is dense in a lot of ways.
Sure. Yeah. It is. Yeah. A lot of chat.
It's a lot of chat. It's a lot of dense text. You're dealing with like metaphysics and with theology. And it's the movie is primarily made up of academics debating how this could exist and what is happening.
Yes.
Kind of horny though, academics,
yes.
Right?
I watched it this morning. I'm very burnt out. I was paranoid all of yesterday. I had COVID. I don't think I do. But I started watching this and I was like, my brain is already being pushed to the limits.
I'd forgotten how long it takes before anything beyond discussion really happens.
Very long time.
It's long build up, so much foreboding detail, and then eventually all hell breaks loose, but it does take a while.
Yeah, quite literally all hell breaks loose. That's true. I don't dislike this movie at all. I mean, I just find all Carpenter movies at this point, and perhaps I will eat my words when we get to the late 90s, but I find them all very comforting to watch for how unnerving they are. They are just so well made, so well crafted, but I had a hard time processing the actual meat of this movie beyond the visuals, which I love.
I feel like this is for dedicated fans Carpenter. This is like, the equivalent of the album that's not the canonical album, but it's the one that people really love. It's like, I don't want to hear Highway 61 revisited. I want to hear Infidels or something like that. This is that.
I absolutely believe I will come to love this movie. But it was a movie, and I have this sometimes where I put it on and I went, man, I can't wait to have seen this 2 more times.
Prince of Darkness.
David, it was your first time watching it and you loved it because you're smarter than me.
I'm not smarter than you.
You are. You are. You're taller and you're smarter.
But I do. It's embarrassing that I didn't really know what this was about. For some reason, I had a completely different conception. I knew it was sort of set in one location, and I knew that it was
Pleasance as a priest.
Right, Pleasance was in it, and that it was about, let's call him the Prince of Darkness, essentially, if you will, in some form.
Mr. Beelzebub.
But everything you're describing, where you're like, yeah, it's a lot of sort of like weird chat and kind of an odd stilted atmosphere, and then like, things go absolutely buck wild, and there's this sort of weird sort of like crossing of science and mysticism, and I'm like, yeah, that's exact. Like I just wish more movies were like this. It's
your shit. I want to make it clear, I don't dislike any of those things. I just felt like I might not be in the headspace to process this properly right now.
I assume we'll talk a little Quatermass on this episode, which is not something I know well, obviously, but I know is a huge influence on this movie, and maybe really want to watch those Quatermass movies. I feel like I'm going to like Dr. Quatermass.
I feel like I'm be the pedant here, but it's Quatermass, I believe.
Quatermass, sorry, Dr. Quatermass.
Our Mummy episode just came out yesterday on Patreon, and I saw someone in the Reddit complaining that we mispronounced
Fraser.
Because we're saying it like Fraser Crane, but he's Fraser.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those things where I'm like, I think the boat might have gone out on that one. It's like everyone calls him Brendan Fraser, like and it seems like we've been getting it wrong. I guess I don't know. He's Canadian, right? Or he's of Canadian descent. I don't know. I don't know. Sorry. Yeah.
But there's that thing. If there's a more popular word that looks similar to the thing, it's hard not to autocorrect in your brain, like Quatermass, where you're like, well, quarter. I see the word quarter a lot.
Yeah, but I still
don't see the word Quater.
It's Quatermass. Yeah. Ben, cut it all out.
Keep it in. Double it.
Brendan Fraser.
I don't see the word Quater a lot.
have you seen any of the Quatermass stuff, guys? Have you seen? I've only seen the 67 movie, which is actually
Quatermass in the Pit.
Yeah, which is great. And it's like
that is what I have seen. I saw it many years ago.
Yeah, there were 3 TV serials, and then there were 3 movies, and this is a remake of the third TV serial, if I'm not mistaken. But whole cast. Anyway, it's really good, and I mean, you can't really talk about this without talking about Nigel Neale in general and Halloween 3. I don't know how deep you want to get in the weeds.
Let's get in the weeds. Let's get in the weeds,
man,
baby.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
you can call me Mary Louise Parker because I'm willing to go deep into weeds at this point.
Nigel Neale was most famous for doing British television, and I think his fame over there is much higher than it is. His profile is much higher there than here. I don't know if anyone can speak to this or not on this podcast. But
I don't think so. I can't check all 4 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I don't think anyone can unless they want to butt in right now.
Nigel Neale, it's one of those things where, there's these Britain loves to reflect on its culture, right? And do constant constant documentaries and sort of talking head type, pop culture-y things, right? And it's always a bunch of comedians being like, "Oh, I loved Quatermass," and they talk about it, right? And then you cut to this guy who's Nigel Neale. He's so cool, but it's like this old guy in a suit is like, "Yeah, I worked at the BBC, and I thought it was all a bit of fun." And you're just like, it's always the funniest to finally see the mind behind the twisted sci-fi that changed a generation in Britain, and it's this sort of sweet grumpy man. Anyway, Nigel Neale, yes, revered in England.
Yeah, and his only real significant foray into Hollywood was his uncredited work on Halloween 3, which he apparently he came over to work on Creature from the Black Lagoon for John Landis, and that never happened. And I guess Joe Dante put in the direction of John Carpenter for Halloween 3. But if you see that movie, he took his name off of it because he didn't like the direction it went in, and he and Carpenter apparently got quite grumpy with one another. But it is kind of in the line with a lot of what else he did, which is combining science and the supernatural. Ultimately, Quatermass and the Pit is about how what we think of the devil is just ancient memories of aliens that formed us or something like that. And I think probably most relevant, I haven't seen a lot of his stuff, but I did watch, and to prepare for this, I watched The Stone Tape. Have anyone seen that?
It was Stone Tape.
1972 TV movie.
That's one of his big BBC specials that is not Quater, along with what's it called, the Sex Olympics.
Yeah, the year of the Sex Olympics. I've not seen, but the title is very intriguing.
I've never seen either. I know it mostly because of its title. But it is a very famous in Britain, a very highly regarded piece of TV, which is set in a sort of Orwellian future where the government controls mass media and blah, blah, blah. It sounds very cool. I have not seen it. I have also not seen the Stone Tape, which is it's kind of like a ghost story, right? Or like a haunted house thing.
Well, it's very much like Prince of Darkness, where it is about a recording company, if I remember correctly, that's trying out a new recording equipment in an old house, because that's what you do when you're a 70s British scientist. You go to an old manor house. And what the gist of it is basically that what they think of as ghosts is actually the house recording old events. But the deeper they investigate, they find out that what they're recording, the evil actually predates the house itself, which is another kind of a Quatermass in the Pit thing, which is also another Halloween 3 thing, where it's like this ancient lore being tied to science in some way. So, the homage is pretty direct with Prince of Darkness.
That's cool. Now I have to watch it because it sounds awesome.
Not to sidetrack, but what's your take on Halloween 3? Do you guys like that movie?
I love Halloween 3. Griffin, have you seen Halloween 3?
No, we keep on going over this. I've only seen the oldest and the most recent Halloween movies.
You're a twin poles, right? Halloween 3 is the best reason for us to ever do those commentaries because it's such a cool, weird movie. But Halloween 3, Griff. The mask.
I do.
Some of the sort of imagery of it.
It's the one I find most enticing, and I've been meaning to dig in and watch all of them now. Because, 'tis the season. 'Tis the season. I should mention that 'tis is the season.
I recently did. The Atlantic likes me to do these sort of like weird underrated movies lists that I do occasionally. And I threw Halloween 3 on there, and that got the most pushback. People really still, as much as it's now a beloved cult object, it's more polarizing than most.
Well, I think people still feel tricked by it because it's not, you show up for Halloween 3 and there's no Michael Myers in it. I've realized we left out the most important detail of all, which is that Prince of Darkness is credited to a screenwriter named Martin Quatermass, which is, of course, John Carpenter.
Doesn't exist. Now, obviously, aside from the cuteness of the homage of that pen name, do we know why he didn't take the credit himself on this? It is bizarre. Is it just that he wanted to do that homage?
I guess
I can tell you, Griff. It's in our research.
Okay.
Basically, he decided he did not want the public to know he wrote the script. I don't know why that is.
Right. That's my central question.
Right. Yeah. But he did want to pay tribute to Nigel Neale, so he thought it would be cute to, use this pen name, and then he wrote a fictional biography for Martin Quatermass,
right,
in the press kit,
right,
that said like he was a rocket scientist from the British 1950s, and he graduated from quote Neale University.
Yeah.
So like he was being cute, and on the film's commentary, apparently he's like, I heard Quatermass retired. I think he's an alcoholic. No one wants to read what he writes anymore. Like so he's having a little fun, but I don't know why he was suddenly in his head about.
That's right. That's my question.
Getting screenwriting credits. I don't know. Yeah.
That's funny though, because if you go back and read the reviews, most critics didn't seem to get it. And like, I didn't know there was a press kit because I thought one who did was Michael Phipps of the LA Times, who wrote something like he's the cousin of the British astrophysicist Bernard Quatermass. I thought it was like a little wink thing, but maybe that's what Carpenter was putting out there as a fact at the time.
I think it was what's the name of the very real person who wrote Logan Lucky, where they created a fake biography for her as well.
Yes, and that movie was probably just written by
Jules Asner,
wife, right?
Right. Most people think Jules Asner.
Rebecca
wrote that
Blunt is the fake name.
Interesting.
Rebecca Blunt.
Okay.
Is the fake name, but yes, Jules Asner is the writer.
Yeah.
Prince of Darkness. Yeah. So, Keith, do you know how this movie got made? Because I didn't until our researchers dug into it, and it's so cool.
It's kind of fascinating. Yeah.
A little bit, because it was his 4-picture deal with Alive Films, right?
Right, which comes off of the back of him doing 4 big budget, quote unquote, studio movies in a row. So it's like Thing, his ultimate blank check. Then Christine is him trying to recover from the flop of Thing. Starman, him shifting genre a little bit. And then Big Trouble in Little China, which I think was like another, like, we gave you this much money again, and you did something this weird again. Like he had just sort of built himself back up. And he, at that point, is even more disillusioned with the film industry than he ever had been before. And it's just like, I'm fucking done. I don't want to play this game. I don't want to work within this system. I'm out. It's also funny that there's this quote from him where he's like, I need to take time off. I needed like a long break. I had made too many movies. I want a vacation. I want to cool it. He had done 11 movies in 15 years.
Which is crazy.
But his break does not last long.
But also like an 11 movie run that is, pretty creatively unparalleled.
Yes.
And work intense. Those are not easy films to make. It's not like knocking off a quiet little drama.
No.
None of them are, big budget. I mean, like even his biggest budget movie, The Thing, like even that, was a huge pain in the ass to make. Like he's never comfortable. And yet at the same time, all these interviews, he's basically like, look, I always wanted to work in the studio system, and then I did, and I realized they suck. Now, John Carpenter always comes off as an ornery grump, in every interview. God love him. Full respect to the man. He's right to be grumpy. But it is that funny kind of careful what you wish for thing where he's like, well, I did everything myself, and that was a pain. And then I finally got the money to have other people do it. But then they were asking me all these questions, these jerks. Like, they don't fucking trust me.
Everything's bad. I just feel like every time Nick and JJ put the dossier together for us, there's a quote from John Carpenter saying like, after making this movie, I realized I didn't like this industry. It makes no sense to me. I don't want to be part of it. He just like keeps coming to that realization over and over again. But yes, he's got this fucking quote where he's like, I need to take a vacation. I need to cool. I've been burning the candle at both ends. I've made fucking 11 movies in 15 years. Prince of Darkness comes out the year after Big Trouble. And not only that, it's the first film, as you said, Keith, in a 4-picture deal he signed to make 4 movies in 5 years. Like, he's right away re-upping and getting right back into the deep end. But the terms of his deal with Alive were, all he needed to submit was a synopsis, like a 1-sentence synopsis, and if they like the synopsis, he gets $3 million complete creative control. So the budget's never going to go over 3. He has to design something that can fit into $3 million, but all he has to do is give them like the one-liner pitch, and he's off.
This thing is crazy for $3 million. I know it's set in one location, and that's how he's saving money. But in 1987, like this is a tiny budget for a movie with this kind of, makeup and effects, and it's impressive.
It does seem like though with this And They Live is like you make whatever you want as long as you make it in the parts of Los Angeles that nobody wants to film in.
I think that's a big part of it. I think it's like the name guy in this movie is Pleasance, his main dude, but not like a fucking A-list movie star, a big genre guy at this point. He's got the cachet from being the through line on Halloween.
Right. He's got the guy from Simon and Simon.
The lesser of the two Simons is
right. Sure. The shittier Simon.
Lowercase
Simon.
No,
it is not a hot cast of up and coming stars or anything like that. Even it's a lot of workaday types. No offense to them.
Yeah, I think he's just a guy who knew how to use his budget incredibly well at this point and stretch it and understand how, if 75% of the movie is intellectual conversations, you could really make the remaining 25% sing in terms of visual effects.
But like the idea that he just wrote, this was the sentence, something like, the devil is buried under a Los Angeles church and graduate students come to fight him.
Right.
Period. And they were like, yeah, $3 million. Someone print out the check. I'll have it ready for you. It's not like that log line isn't cool. I want to hear more.
Sure.
But I would probably want to hear more.
You don't think Universal's not signing up on that pitch,
Well, graduate students, I assume, is where many of an executive would be like, wait, graduate students? Come on.
Yeah.
We can't zazz that up.
But that's right. That's the big thing, is that Alive has a distribution deal with Universal, and Universal's going to handle TV and home video. So it's like the movie has a security net, but he doesn't have to get the approval of Universal. He doesn't have to go through that bureaucracy. He's left to his own devices.
So Alive Entertainment. This is Alive Films. I'm sorry.
Apology accepted.
What are some other, like, isn't
they did Kiss of the Spider Woman?
Yeah, they did Alan Rudolph's films for a while.
Right.
I think they did
Kiss the Spider Woman, obviously.
Betty Blue. So like they were big in the art house, like 80s art house stuff for a little while there. But the deal falls apart eventually. I don't know if you want to get into that this podcast or not. But
right, he gets up to the second film, right? They Live is the second out of what was supposed to be 4, and then right.
The other two could have been El Diablo. He had some film about
his fucking unmade masterpiece. Yeah, every single time it's El Diablo, right?
And then the other pitches were apparently something about Vietnam helicopter pilots, which I don't know how you do that on a $3 million budget.
No,
something called. Let me find this here.
Is that Victory Out of Time?
Yes,
that's one. Yeah.
All anyone ever knows about it. Apparently, in a tweet in 2011, he put out something. Someone asked him about it. He says he just tweeted back, "Different take on time travel." So it would have been a different take on time travel, apparently.
I will say, I would not be looking in the late 80s to make a time-traveling Vietnam helicopter movie when The Twilight Zone is in the recent memory. Like, I understand why...
I think there was 2 different movies, but yes.
I understand. I'm just saying, that's happened in 1983. If I was a studio, I would go, John, get this the fuck out of our office. How dare you even say time travel Vietnam helicopter? Yeah.
Well, also time travel right after Back to the Future, it's sort of, but I do feel like he's in this science-y mode. Like he's very intrigued suddenly by, breakthroughs in technology, right? And he likes combining that with more classic genre stuff of his youth. Like that's where a lot of this feels like.
Right. This was like he was getting into theoretical physics and then decided to reverse engineer a movie around what interested him there. So it was like, can I take everything I'm interested in the actual hard science of this shit and the theory and then marry it to supernatural so that I can get it made?
How do you just get into quantum physics?
He's John Carpenter. How does he get into Fallout 76?
Weird. That is a weird thing to just be like, I'm a hobbyist of quantum physics.
I mean, I don't know for sure, but it seems like maybe that was the 80s, what like Chaos Theory was to the 90s, where suddenly it was turning up,
Okay.
not just in Jurassic Park, but some other, other popular bits of entertainment as well.
Interesting. Okay.
Look, he just wants to do his own research, Ben.
Got it.
David?
Yes, Griffin?
I regret to inform you
Uh-oh.
that we've been in this year together. Deep sigh.
Deep sigh.
Deep sigh. We've been in this year together, David.
That's true. I mean, it's one of the better things about this year.
That's very sweet of you to say.
Right.
I appreciate our friendship.
I do too.
And
there's an end? I thought we were just talking about our friendship.
Well, it's a yes and. Okay. I have some good news for you.
What's up?
I believe, this is just my opinion, I can't speak for anyone else, but I believe that you deserve comfort that's all yours.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. I've been trying to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like how to actually get the comfort.
Of course.
Maybe even like, I mean, this is a crazy concept, Griffin, so just
Sure.
bear with me. But like,
yeah.
Could I like pull off my entire comforter all day? Like just wear it?
Wow.
Like imagine like you get out of bed, blanket comes with you.
Yes. And David.
Yes.
I don't know about you.
Okay.
But it's the button-free, zipperless, softest clothing option for me that I tend to go towards.
Now, we were only supposed to pick one of these sort of like conversation icebreakers or whatever, but we're really just sort of bouncing around them. And I think it's fun.
We've gone through the first sentence of each of the three, and this is how you keep the marriage fresh at this point. David, do you ever find yourself asking, does it come without buttons and zippers?
Look, zipper, who? Not us. Look, here's the thing.
Now we've gone through all 5 openers.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
Here's
the thing, Alec Baldwin.
We're dancing around it, but Brooklinen has been listening to what we need most.
Rich
and they've
Vicky.
responded with ultra comfy loungewear at a fair price. It's got some classic cuts, which that's great. Oh yeah, I love a classic cut. But no zippers.
No zippers. David.
Limitless comfort.
David, I was just swiveling around in my chair looking around because I was trying to see if I could find it. But guess what I did last weekend? No joke.
Go ahead.
I went to a Brooklinen sample sale in person.
What?
I got the email. I don't think I was on some exclusive list. I think they sent it to people who bought products and lived in the area. And they're having a sample sale with deep discounts. And I went, I like Brooklinen so much. Why not take a walk? Why not walk 20 blocks?
Sure.
To see what I could find.
Something to do?
And you know what I found?
What?
I found an incredible hoodie. That's my new favorite item of clothing.
Oh,
it's this
I want
exact
a Brooklinen hoodie
thing. It's great. I got this nice gray Brooklinen hoodie. It's just simple, but it is soft as all get out.
Yeah, look, this is the whole thing with Brooklinen. All the loungewear is really comfortable. You can wear it out and look good.
I did yesterday.
Doesn't have any dang zippers.
No,
of course.
Thank God. I hate zippers.
And
I want to murder them.
They've got bundle deals on loungewear, so you can get more comfort for less money. And if you're looking for ways to enhance that comfort, check out some candles, maybe eye masks, accessories. There's a reason Brooklinen has over 75,000 5-star reviews and counting.
And I want to make this clear. Their candles have no zippers.
Yeah, zipperless.
Zipper-free candles.
All right, so go on, get comfortable, and get it for less at Brooklinen. Go to brooklinen.com and use promo code BlankCheck to get $20 off with a minimum purchase of $100. That's BROOKLINEN.com and enter promo code BlankCheck for $20 off with a minimum purchase of $100. $20, not
$20. No
which
ballers.
is what I said there for a second.
Yeah.
That's brooklinen.com, promo code BlankCheck. $20 off with a minimum purchase of $100. Come on.
I will say, though, I just want to add on, if you were discouraged by David saying not 20 ballers off, I want to make it clear. There are no episodes of Ballers required for you to make a purchase from Brooklyn. You don't need a coupon for 20 ballers off. You don't have to watch one.
Brooklyn. He also was allowed to do, per this deal, a big budget studio film, like within the years of this deal, which was supposed to be Escape from LA.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
An idea of how that gives you an idea of how long it actually took Escape from LA to happen. That like in the mid 80s, they're like, yes. But anyway, Andre Blay is the executive producer here, right? He's one of the live guys, and he's like the king of VHS, I feel like.
Yes.
This is right. This is, and Nick and JJ, our researchers, gave us, it's funny to think about this because now we take home video for granted or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like, he's one of those guys who like went to Fox in 1977 and was like, can I buy the video rights to your movies, like MASH, The French Connection, right? You're like, and they were like, what? Okay, well, who fucking cares? Right. And he gave them like $300,000, right? And like some royalties, obviously, or whatever, and made a fortune. Like,
right.
You know, like, and a few years later, Fox bought him out because they were like, you're a genius, come run our video thing. But it's just like how Netflix, you know, discovered streaming video almost by accident, where they were like, yeah, I guess that could be an option. Let's put that on our website. You know, we're a DVD by mail company, but like, what if you could just like watch it on your laptop? And then like 5 years later, that's their entire model.
And similarly, Netflix had 3 years where literally everything was on their site and only their site. And they got all of it for like $300,000 combined. And it fucked up consumer expectations forever.
It also looked bad at first. I remember I was like, I don't want to watch this on streaming. This looks terrible.
Bad quality.
It did.
Yeah.
It looked very bad. Yes.
I mean, there's just, I feel like I brought this up before, but it is weird how little this is discussed. But the fact that Netflix's big foot in the door with streaming was they signed a deal with Starz, and that meant that anything Starz had the rights to, Netflix had the rights to. And so all the studios that had made deals with Starz did not have to renegotiate deals with Netflix. And Netflix for 4 years just had every movie that Starz had in rotation. And they made that deal for like what, less than $1 million? I mean, it was like insane.
It was kind of like that early bit of YouTube too, where everything was on YouTube. Everything that was a video was on YouTube until like, yes, copyright discovered
Disney had some first look deal with Starz, so every Disney movie was on Netflix like immediately. It was bizarre. It fucked everything up forever. You have to imagine Alive just crunched the numbers and was like, there is no way we put a video box with John Carpenter's name on it on the shelves and it does not make significantly more than $3 million. Like, this movie can underperform the box office and it's a wash. The stats must have been there that this guy like works on home video, because obviously that's a lot of where Carpenter's like legendary status grew. It makes sense for them to make this deal.
Yeah, it's funny you should bring up VHS. I remember, I think Alex Ross Perry is right, and what you're reiterating here is true, that VHS is big for Carpenter. But I also feel like there's a second wave of appreciation, especially for the second tier films, when widescreen home video becomes a thing. Because I know I watched this on VHS and back whenever and didn't really think that much of it. But I think it's a revelation, like a lot of Carpenter films, when you see it in widescreen. Like, I think the first time I liked Halloween, but the first time I ever really got Halloween was, I think I watched on widescreen VHS back when that was briefly a thing before DVD.
Especially because Carpenter's like such a widescreen guy, is like always shooting with like Panavision lenses or anamorphic or things like that. You're not getting the full idea. I don't know if you saw this in the dossier, David, but the other person who sold Carpenter on making this sort of deal was Charles Band, at that time the head of Empire Pictures, who would release like Reanimator and stuff like that, and broke down from the model of like, you keep this low enough, you make a profit on VHS, the film lives on there, all of that, you get whatever limited theatrical release. Charles Band later, I believe his next company is Full Moon Pictures, which then of course creates my beloved Puppet Master franchise. Charles Band, father of Puppet Masters.
Oh, right. Have you watched any more Puppet Masters since we
the last time we recorded,
Masters?
then I went on trip for 2 weeks and I didn't watch anything. I'm up to 3. I'm going to get through all the Puppet Masters. I swear I'm going to push through the Nazi ones.
You can't push through them because I don't think they've stopped.
No, I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep pushing until they stop.
What was the most recent revival?
Well, there was Littlest Reich, written by S. Craig Zahler. And then there's a spin-off Blade movie that's also about Nazis. I think is like a Boys in Brazil type Where Did the Nazis Go movie.
Right. Yeah, Littlest Reich is repellent. I don't know why. It really is one of the most repellent movies I've seen, to the point where I know I need to check out Zahler's other films, and people I respect love his stuff, but this was my first exposure to the mind of S. Craig Zahler, and I think I want out of the mind of S. Craig Zahler at this point.
Is that not part of his appeal, that he is?
It is.
His films are repellent. You're trying to figure out how much he is repellent.
I will. Yes, I mean, Keith. Yes, I agree. He is somewhat repellent, or whatever the stories he's telling are, at least. But I imagine the ones that he directs. He did not direct The Littlest Reich.
He did not.
They are visually enchanting enough to at least guide you through the repellents. Whereas I don't want to speak ill of The Littlest Reich, but my guess is it is a little more bare bones. That maybe not. Maybe it's an absolute aesthetic masterpiece. Like, I couldn't tell you.
I mean, I think it was a bit of a budget pump up from the previous Nazi trilogy, which of course is Axis of Evil, Axis Rising, and Axis Termination. That's the other thing. Like, you're saying how repellent Littlest Reich is, Keith. The people who go deep on Puppet Master are like, oh, Littlest Reich, finally they lighten up here.
Oh, God.
Like, the 3 Nazi movies before it were apparently worse. And then, the Blade one is called Blade the Iron Cross. They gotta get out of this fucking Nazi cul-de-sac. Get back to, like, the fucking puppets just being puppets.
Yeah, it's weird that Puppet Master is the one that got taken over by Nazis. Like, that's not like an automatic, you're like, well, I enjoy this movie, but I can just tell where this is going. It's definitely going to turn into a Nazi franchise.
By the 21st century, it's just going to be all Nazi puppets all the time.
All the time, yeah. I mean, I think there's like the Toulon, the puppeteer is getting, like, he gets chased by Nazis in the first, like, there's a little bit, he was on the run from the Nazis. The Nazis were the bad guys. At some point, the puppets become Nazis. Anyway, this is an episode on Prince of Darkness.
Yes, but it is crucial not to talk about Puppet Master, but to just acknowledge the sort of the boom of VHS that's happening at the time.
Well, that's why I'm bringing this up, because you have things like Puppet Master, which start around this time, where it's like a franchise that goes on for 12 entries and never gets released to theaters.
Like, Keith, you're a little older than me. Like, I assume you didn't see Prince of Darkness in theaters, but like, did you see it? I don't know, on home video, like, more around when it came out, or was it something you dug up later?
I'm going to say probably. Like, I had friends who hung out in high school. We watched a lot of horror films, so it might have been in the mix at some point there, or possibly when I was working at a video store later in life. But I think the first time it really worked for me was when I watched it on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever form I saw it in.
This one is also so dark that I feel like the worse the transfer is you're watching, the harder it is to process anything that is happening.
Yeah, and it's just I think, like, Sergio Leone movies are basically incomprehensible in pan and scan. I don't think Carpenter's quite that, but there's so much atmosphere that you lose if you're watching it in pan and scan.
He's a guy who very consciously uses every single inch of the frame. And yeah, the more you're cropping that, the less you're under the spell of his move.
You're gonna lose, half the maggots from a frame if you crop this movie.
Yeah, you're only gonna get a few dozen bugs, not hundreds.
Got so many bugs.
Some other context on it. Right. So we're talking Halloween 3. Carpenter was asked to make Halloween 4, which came out, I want to say 88, which is, of course, the return of Michael Myers. 88, yes.
He had no interest in going back to Myers, right? Like, he would have kept doing them if they had kept them as anthology.
Possibly, but yes, he very much sold the sequel rights to someone else and was kind of like, in 87, there's this interview in Starlog he gives where he's like, I am happy to be rid of Halloween. Like, I don't want, if other people want to make money off of it, fine, but like I don't want to be involved anymore. I don't know where that fatigue is coming from, but obviously it would be hard to keep topping yourself, and he's he's got a lot of other ideas. But it is too bad that Halloween 3, which they just never should have called Halloween 3. They should have just called it Halloween : something, right? Like Halloween : like calling it Halloween 3 was an objectively stupid decision, because that makes it sound like it's the third entry in a specific story. Like,
I mean, can I throw out a theory? Do you think it would have worked had it been Halloween 2?
Maybe. I mean, yes, doing Halloween 2 doesn't help, of course, because then you have set
you do the very
tone of
literal starting right after sequel that gives people exactly what they think they want, and then to go like, never mind, it's just about different things that happen on this one night.
And also you have Friday the 13th doing the numbered sequels, so it's like there's the expectation of like the masked killer will be back.
No, I think it's, in theory you might be right, but it's kind of unprecedented. I can't think of another film series that works that way. But maybe it would have been a huge breakthrough. Who knows?
No, I mean, the only example of anything that's even close to this is like when you get the fucking like Bourne Legacy thing where you're just like, can we make it without the star? Never mind, we're going back to the star. Where you make sort of a sideways sequel, but that's very much in the same continuity, in the same universe, sharing supporting characters, building on the legacy. This idea of just like, it's a fucking whole new thing.
Yeah, Halloween 3 actually takes place in a universe in which Halloween is a film that people watch on television. So it's not connected at all.
Right. That's wild. But I mean, I just remember hearing that as a kid and thinking that was so cool that like, oh, fuck, there's a movie that doesn't have Myers in it at all. He just took the idea of Halloween as like, that's the fucking bucket that we're putting movies into.
Ben, have you seen Halloween 3? You haven't, I'm assuming.
I did a long time ago, and I have not revisited.
I just know that you like hacker witches. It's sort of about hacker druids. So it's just kind of got what, as something that you might be intrigued by. That's all. Sort of like, microchips, but also druids.
Hold on. That sounds extremely my shit. Fuck.
I don't want to spoil Halloween 3 too much, but I just want to tell you that the microchips are made out of Stonehenge. That's all. So
all right. I'm going to I have to go.
The other thing that Carpenter was asked to do by ABC was to do a horror anthology series, I guess a sort of more extreme Twilight Zone thing. And I just want to read his quote because, Johnny, you're absolutely right when you say, they wanted me to commit to 1 hour every week for whatever I wanted to do, but it doesn't mean anything to me. Who wants to produce TV? It's brain damage time, man. It's tough. You have to come up with a new story every week. I don't want to work that hard.
What year was that? Like mid-80s?
87.
Yeah, because that was like when Amazing Stories and Alfred Hitchcock Presents, anthology series were briefly a thing.
Here's another Carpenter quote that is haunting to read today. This is from Starlog magazine. He said, "The studios aren't like they used to be. The executives really don't know much about movie making. In the old days, the moguls loved making movies. Today, that responsibility has shifted to the agents. The studio heads don't develop their own projects anymore. Instead, they call agents and ask, what have you got? What package can you put together?" That quote's from 1987.
Packages.
Scary.
Yeah, no, this is the thing. He's just sort of sniffing this stuff out, and he's like, I don't want to be a content provider, essentially.
Yeah.
I'll package Plaisance and Wong and Parker and all the stars.
Grad students, cylinders of evil. Come on.
Alice Cooper at the height of his fame.
Dude, Alice Cooper in this movie, who he met at WrestleMania 3.
Right.
That is how he casts Alice Cooper. They were hanging out. Alice Cooper apparently was part of a match between Jake the Snake and Jake the Snake Roberts and the Honky Tonk Man.
Of course.
Carpenter was just there vibing, having fun at WrestleMania 3, enjoying a professional wrestling entertainment package. And he got backstage passes and he hung out with Alice and he was like, oh, this guy's cool. And he just put him in his movie.
Right. Then Shep Gordon negotiated for him to write a song for it.
I believe that's also how he met Roddy Piper. I think that's why Roddy Piper's in.
And they used some of Alice Cooper's onstage devices for this movie. I think that's another way they kept the budget down.
The impaling thing is apparently from his show.
Right.
Which I don't necessarily get because it's not like he invented impaling, but I guess that the way the gag is executed was from his stage show.
And I think they're literally reusing the devices and stuff. Yeah.
So, like, all good, but what's the closest? Is Blumhouse sort of the closest thing to this now, where it's just like with a few $1 million and a sort of basic concept, you can rub some sticks together and maybe, have a hit on your hands, I guess. But like,
correct. And I feel like Blumhouse has a similar thing where they're just like, well, if this movie doesn't work, we'll like sell it to streaming. Like, what low risk? There are buyers for this, right? Whatever.
But like the idea that he's just been like reading a lot of Scientific American and like is interested in particle physics all of a sudden,
right.
And is like, yeah, I can make all this work.
Right. How is this a movie? I don't know. The particles are turn into Satan. Like, God is anti-God. Right.
I like it.
I do too.
To be clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's also, with this, I feel like he's kind of going against the trend of horror in the 70s and 80s, where it's like there's no teens, there's no like hot co-eds, or all these movies that are about like, where it's like not only are they teen-ish or in their early 20s, but like everyone in those movies is like a type. Like there's a jock and there's a skater and there's a band geek or whatever. And this is just like about a bunch of grown-ups, kind of doing some research, who are very sort of nondescript in a good way.
I mean, it feels like the lead student having that fucking mustache is a real statement in that way too.
Yes. Yeah. This is an adult.
That's such a fucking honking stash.
It's wild. It's bordering on Brimley, but the fact that it's so robust in color.
Yeah. My friend Josh Rothkopf wrote about this movie for a site called Musings. Yeah, great guy. And his whole take on it is basically this is his the closest he came to inserting himself into a film. That character, like sort of this mustachioed, because he shot at USC where he went to school, and there's that element to it as well. And it's not the most flattering depiction if it is kind of a autobiographical, because he's kind of a jerk, and he gets called out on being a sexist jerk, which was a touch I wasn't necessarily expecting in this film, a film from this era.
Not specific details, but they do seem similar in temperament. Carpenter in this character.
Yeah, Carpenter's also good about giving women letting them push back against sexist jerks, which was cool to see.
Right. I mean, that's another. You talk about him going against the trends of horror movies at this time. The one sex scene happens in like the first 10 minutes and they cut over it.
Mm-hmm.
This is another movie also where I feel like the opening credits don't end until like minute 10.
They keep getting interrupted by scenes.
Right. We failed to comment on this in the Fog episode, which is one of my favorite elements of the Fog, is that you keep on thinking the opening credits are over, and then they still go on.
Block in, right? Yeah. This, right. I love
in
that. In
Fog, they're just superimposed over the image, but there'll be like a minute in between each credit, so you forget they're still happening. It's the slow seeping feeling. With this, it's the classic Carpenter, like white text on black. So you keep on thinking they're done, and then there'll be another insert of opening credits. It does lend an ominous vibe, especially because so many of his themes, his own scores, are so relentless. They're just sort of one droning pattern happening over and over and over again. The fact that the credits also don't stop, it does build this dread.
It's like we haven't even started yet.
Right.
What's the real movie is still coming.
And there's going to be this great, really freaky motif of this dream you can't shake that's sort of like being projected into your head. And I don't know.
Right.
Yes, great atmosphere, especially since, yes, this is a slow start. But I think slow start horror is usually my preferred approach.
Same here.
Yeah, I like a sort of like, even if you're going to take an hour to really get to the bananas stuff, and then, probably have a pretty wild last half hour, right? Like that's cool. As long as I'm, engaged, like by the first hour. Yeah. Versus sort of balls to the wall, thrills. That can be fun, but
I tend to agree with you. This movie is weirdly long by Carpenter standards, in that it's an hour 45 rather than like 90 and out.
Yeah.
Lot of theory to unpack with this one, I think. Though.
Yes.
So we've got Victor Wong, like you said, who he'd worked with in Big Trouble in Little China, and he just loves that this guy can I love the way this guy handles jargon. Like,
me too.
It's just like he just seems very into it, I guess. Like, versus just that he's just like downloading information.
He does genuinely feel like a professor rather than an expository device. Like, I feel like people either get tripped up on dialogue like this or they put too much mustard on it and make it too dramatic. And he's just a guy who loves talking about this shit, has been talking about this shit every day for decades.
And he and Plaisance are both actors who you believe what they're saying. Like they can,
Yes.
They have the authority and conviction. And it's like, you step back. It's like, this is absolute nonsense. But, while they're talking, it's like, sure, the devil's in a jar in the basement. That makes sense.
Right. Pleasant sells it more through the sort of like mad-eyed terror of everything, the sort of severity of everything. But yeah, I just, it's Wong kind of just like lets the stuff just sort of like roll off.
Is it embarrassing that the thing I know him best from is Three Ninjas? Obviously, I know he's in Big Trouble in Little China, but I didn't see
The Last
Emperor.
Right. I mean,
but I didn't see those until later.
Yeah.
But like when I was a kid, I saw at least three Ninja movies. I think I fell off with.
You didn't see High Noon and Mega Mountain?
Up. I never saw High Noon and Mega Mountain. That's the one with Hulk Hogan?
Yeah. Knuckle Up is the third one, I believe.
Knuckle Up is the third one, but Mega Mountain is the fourth. There's 4. It's a tetralogy.
Correct.
I guess I didn't realize that he started so later in life. I guess isn't Dim Sum basically his first film of any note?
Yes.
Yeah, he was like sort of a local theater guy and does not make it all the way to movie work. I think he mostly did like San Francisco theater until Dim Sum, which is that's 85.
Right. And Wayne Wang was a San Francisco guy. It makes sense that he would have found him there. But yeah, he's born in 27. 50s, yeah. Right. So he's almost 60 by the time he breaks out. And yeah, look, Jesus, like hit the ground running. Dim Sum, You're the Dragon, same year, right? Then following year, Big Trouble in Little China, Shanghai Surprise, which is a disaster, but a high-profile disaster. Golden Child's a big hit. Year after that, Last Emperor, Prince of Darkness. Then he does Eat a Bowl of Tea with Wang again, Tremors. And then he fucking gets stuck in the Three Ninjas corridor. I do imagine if you asked the guy, he'd be like, Three Ninjas, once I got stuck there, I never got out.
Right, because then you're the kindly Asian grandpa, right? And it's like, yeah.
And he's in the widely beloved film Jade as well.
Yes.
Of course. Mr. Wong and Jade. He is. There's also this week. He died a day after September 11th.
Did you read this?
Yeah, it's
Upon
weird.
learning of the events of September 11, 2001, Wong and his wife Rose spent the day trying to get news of Wong's sons who lived in New York City. They were unharmed. After Rose went to sleep, Wong stayed up to continue following the news. He died of a heart attack at some point during the morning of September 12, 2001.
Weird. I mean, he was not a young man, but he's 74. He's still too young to be,
But literally, like, his heart was broken by 9/11.
That sucks. I really like him.
Bad.
And I really like him in this. This is I feel like one of his most sort of, meaty, interesting little roles.
Yes.
In film. I have seen The Last Emperor, which is a great movie, but I couldn't tell you like the actors in it almost. You know what I mean? Like, of course,
I've never seen it. Yeah.
It's good. It is good, but it's a visual feast. I don't know. Keith, are you anti Last Emperor? I feel like,
I have not seen that since I watched it on VHS, so I can't really.
Terrible format to see it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I liked it at the time. I've got the disc somewhere. I should dig it out and watch it one of these days.
Now, can I say I don't really understand Dennis Dunn's performance in this, and he, of course, is in Big Trouble. He shares most of credits for this run of years with Wong, where he's also in Year of the Dragon, Last Emperor. I like him a lot in Big Trouble. I don't know if it's just this character is so
very
bizarre.
Over the top. Is that your
really
problem?
Broad? Yeah, in a way that feels more in line with most horror film performances of the era, but I have found very refreshing that they are absent from the Carpenter films. Like it sort of feels like he's giving a Friday the 13th performance.
Yeah, he's the irritant, I think, for most of the film.
He's the irritant, and he's the irritant in a way that I feel like Carpenter usually has well-observed humans with somewhat recognizable behavior so that you get more invested in them. And he feels like the irritant in like a teen slasher movie where you're like, when are they going to fucking kill this guy?
Right. It's actually crazy that he doesn't die. He's one of the 4 survivors. But part of the problem is that so much of his screen time in the back half of the movie is where he's stuck in the closet. And he just is sort of yelling like, "Oh my God, she looks even crazier! Like, this is getting worse!" Like,
and I've talked about the thing I think Carpenter does so well, which is like most people faced with true horror go silent. They go into shock. They don't scream and run away, And this is like the one character who kind of functions like, once again, just sort of like a dumb slasher movie character, which I love dumb slashers. Like, I don't mind this kind of performance in that. It just feels tonally off from what every other actor is doing.
No, I don't disagree with that. I think that mostly the people he's cast here are sort of in line with what you're talking about, with their, getting to basically play real people.
Yeah.
And they are not straying too far outside the lines of what, like no one is sort of trying to steal the show with some kind of, big character-y performance. But I guess because Walter's kind of the wisecracker,
right?
He's like, he gets to pitch it up a little bit.
He's also so aggro, though. Like, I feel like he is so prickly, where he's not like a fun wisecracker. I bet you can guess who my favorite is. Dirk Blocker.
I was about to say it has to be Dirk Blocker, right?
Just look and vibe alone. Yeah.
My second guess was Peter Jason as Dr. Leahy, a Carpenter guy.
Right. This is his first pairing with him before he then becomes a stock company player for the next 10 plus years.
And Dirk Blocker, a long career, right? We love him.
But he's also like, this guy's a scientist.
Yeah, well, he's got.
I mean,
but
that's what I like.
There is that kind of scientist, right? The kind of Hawaiian shirt scientist.
That's what I like, that he's not a movie scientist. He's the real kind of scientist you meet where you're like, I guess so. And Blocker was a cop in Starman, right? We just saw him in that.
Let me yes, we did, because we were just talking about it. Yes, he's a cop in Starman. Did he do another? Maybe not. Maybe he didn't do another Carpenter. No, I'm not seeing one. Obviously, everyone knows him from Brooklyn Nine-Nine now, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's a predictable Griffin fave. You're right.
Yes, and then you have Lisa Blount, who's coming off of Officer and a Gentleman.
Yeah, who's right. A name, I guess. A closer to a name for this kind of project. But she's also done a bunch of TV at the time, and I guess she's been sort of bouncing around.
I don't know that anyone that says I want to go see the new Lisa Blount movie, though. It is a fairly anonymous cast after the first couple of names.
It is, and Susan Blanchard, who is mostly sort of a soap star. She'd done All My Children. She was the second Mary Martin on All My Children. I do love that in soaps where there's sort of like there's different actors who have their own distinct fans and like long sort of tenures on soap operas.
But like Lisa Blount got a very, very meaningful, like promising star of tomorrow Golden Globe nomination for Officer and a Gentleman. She feels like the only person who was even like arguably kind of being tipped for stardom, even if she didn't become a big star.
Why don't they do that anymore? They should do that. They should bring that. I know Pia Zadora killed it dead or whatever, but they should bring it back.
That was the most fun award they had. They should bring that the fuck back.
I mean, I guess we should just.
The Globes anymore? Are they?
I was
done?
about to say. I guess the Globes are dead. Yeah.
I also just want to mention Jesse Lawrence Ferguson, who plays Calder in this. Who, of course, we recently covered as Officer Self-Hatred in Boys in the Hood.
Right. He's the angry racist black officer. He's got a good death in this movie.
He does.
One of the most impactful. He's the like the watching someone kill themselves, even in a shitty movie like The Happening, which I know some people.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
That the fucking self-harm sequences in that movie are very effective. He's also got a lot of good post-death screen time.
Yeah. That must be so fucking annoying.
Yeah.
You just like lie there, don't move. Like all that. God, it must be such a pain in the ass.
David, can I say something controversial?
I'll allow it.
David?
Yes.
I'd like to say something controversial. Is this a safe space?
I'll allow it. Green lights.
I just want to make sure I word this correctly because it's a sensitive subject.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to get in trouble. I understand.
In my opinion,
mm-hmm.
This is just my opinion, colored by my very specific life experience, a lot of privilege, in a bubble, New York City.
Yeah. Coastal elite. What is it?
I think when you pay for a job site, you should know what you're getting. That's my opinion.
I mean, look, we're not going to edit it out because I believe in free speech. The other thing I believe in is if you get Indeed, you only pay for quality candidates that meet your must-have requirements.
And what I say to that is Indeed. I say Indeed.
You say Indeed. And that's because there's these job sites, right? You're trying to hire people.
Yeah.
But Indeed makes it incredibly simple. You just attract, interview, and hire. You can do all your hiring in one place, even the interviewing. You don't just hope a candidate's going to find you. The hiring tools in Indeed are going to help you cut through the noise to hire faster and smarter.
That thick noise, it's hard to cut through.
It is. There's a lot of noise out there. And Indeed Instant Match gives you a list of quality candidates whose resumes are on Indeed the moment you post a sponsored job.
Yeah, they know
so
how
it
important
saves
is
your hours, your recruiting
to make the
hours.
most of your hours and your dollars. Yes, exactly.
And you can save time and money. You set your must-have qualifications. You only pay for quality candidates that meet them. According to Talent Nest, Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined.
Talent Nest said that?
Talent Nest said
that.
You know those guys.
I know them well. Yeah.
They don't mess around. Join more than 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. You can get started right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/check. Get a $75 credit at Indeed.com/check. Indeed.com/check. Terms and conditions apply. So yeah, look, there's a quantum physicist played by Victor Wong, just to give you know. And there's a Catholic priest played by Donald Pleasant, who we do not know the name. He's just the priest, right? He doesn't have a name.
Yeah, no, his character name is Priest. Yes, correct.
And he's like, come check out this this monastery in LA where I guess the monks used to talk to each other through dreams. There's a mysterious cylinder. Let's see what's going on. My answer to that would be no.
Absolutely not.
I won't be coming. I'll be getting myself a nice meal and going to bed. Safe and warm.
I'm still not entirely sure how this becomes a scientific study. And that combines
Who's
linguists and physicists or what they're hoping to prove what the outcome's supposed to be here. But whatever, I would just go with it. It's so fun.
You have this abrupt hard opening with what is his title? Pleasance's superior, the old man who dies with the little chest and his journal.
I don't know his title. Whatever. He's, chief monk. I don't know.
Chief monk?
I don't know.
But that sort of starts the spiral, right? For Pleasance, digging into what exactly is going on here. I'm a fucking moron. The notion here is that they have been preserving this canister because they thought it was holy.
I think so. It's been there since the 15th century, so which is probably as old as anything, a Catholic church can be in Los Angeles,
in America. Yes.
Right. How it got there, I'm not sure we ever hear, though. Right?
There's the scene with Wong where he's like kind of outraged at the fact that they were not told what they were protecting and why.
I am always drawn to that premise, which is essentially there's this thing that's mysterious that's been there a long time. We should check it out, and then realizing at some point, they were trying to, keep it locked away. Like this sort of flip where it's like, I understand. We weren't supposed to find it. We were supposed to never find it. That's why it's hidden.
And he's like angry that it was not explained to him that they were not given directions and understanding of everything. But Wong's sort of defense is like, they didn't have the technology to make sense of it. They were trying to make sense in theological ways of what we can now discern with hard data. which is that God exists, but in a mirror universe, and we're in the universe where we got Satan in a canister.
I think so. I think that's correct. The anti-God, right?
The anti-God. I mean, anti-God's a great term. Right.
A much better term than devil. And I like devil. I like Satan. That's fine. But anti-God,
Anti-God.
I love the devil. I love Satan. Those are all great. But yeah, I agree.
Not too loudly.
Oh, sorry.
But right, they're part of a monastery called the Brotherhood of Sleep that is based around communal dreaming.
Yeah, pretty cool. But again, that's where I'm like, yeah, no, thank you. I'm not coming.
Yeah.
Like, I won't. Where it's like, well, what's the deal with the monastery that it's in? Apparently, like, the monks used to talk to each other in dreams. I'm like, okay, well, that sounds creepy. So I won't be investigating their cylinder under any circumstances.
I love sleeping. It is my respite from the living. I don't want to share nightmares with other people.
And yes, so right. It's like if it's the sort of like, what if faith and science were two halves of one thing, right? Like, rather than disparate things. So yes, to Christians, yes, maybe there's God and Satan, but just like, how in science there's like matter and antimatter. What if there's, God and anti-God?
Right. That's sort of the idea, is like there is a binding force that is behind the construction of our reality on a cellular level, but all matter has antimatter, and the antimatter wants to destroy everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very Quatermass thing too. It's like, what if you figured out the secret of the universe and it was awful?
It sucks.
And we were doomed. But hey, at least you figured it out.
Absolutely. The ultimate truth is essentially that humanity will be wiped out in a plague. The thing in this canister is not going to come out and be like, hey, I've got all the answers for you. It's just gonna,
right, turn you into zombies or whatever. Turn you into zombies for some reason, right? We never really figured out what the game plan is, Sarah. Do we?
No, I mean, there's just like, I don't know what the point of the bugs or the zombification or the possessed homeless people gathering like is, except to bring about the this guy, the anti-God, coming out of the canister, right? Like coming out of the mirror or whatever.
Well, sure. But that's like, this is a big recurring Carpenter thing, is he is just like fascinated by the notion of pure evil that has no motivation, no explanation, no clear game plan, whether it's a fucking car or a dude in a Shatner mask or a giant tube of goo. It's just like there is fundamental evil that exists, and if you let it loose, it will cause chaos. These forces that cannot be reasoned with in any way.
And this is a movie where there's, as you said, Griffin, a lot of chat, a lot of Pleasance and Wong, especially kind of holding forth on quantum physics and matters of faith, and kind of just...
It's a lot of chat.
A lot
of
chat.
like a lot.
Well, there's
like,
one line about how... I was going to say, there's one line about how they were on a BBC series where they debated each other, and it kind of feels like this is another installment of that series up to a certain point.
Yeah. Which, all of which I like both in theory and in practice. I just think perhaps I needed to have 3 cups of coffee before watching this.
3?
3.
I don't know. You might be pretty jacked up by the time Satan is appearing, but yes, okay.
Right. So Pleasance goes to Wong almost immediately, right? He senses something's wrong. Wong recruits all of his students. It does not tell them what they're doing.
No.
Why they're going to an ancient church basement.
It doesn't give them a lot of choice either. It's like, this is your extra credit assignment that's mandatory. Please show up.
Right. It doesn't give them a lot of choice.
Show up at midnight.
Everyone does it. Acknowledges the fact that they don't know what's going on. They are not that worried about it.
They're more annoyed than anything else. It's like, another one of these things.
Yeah.
And by the way, and no one's really keeping an eye on it. That I say was their biggest, they should be noticing by the time the liquid is pooling on the ceiling or whatever, right? Like, I feel like that is happening for a while before anyone really checks in.
I get Pleasance just wanting to be like, okay, time for some answers. Let's get to work. I'm not idly guarding this thing anymore. But also, when your whole life has been devoted to the idea that your monastery guards this thing, maybe make sure one person is guarding it.
Right. Someone just should have eyes on it. Instead, they have like computers.
Right.
Computers that are like running sort of formulas on the many kind of encrypted books and stuff like that. And
that's great. That's great. Do that work, but get one PA to do Firewatch on the evil tube.
Ben, you liked the old computers spitting out numbers?
Oh man, it fucking ruled. Come on, that shit was great.
No, I'm not surprised.
What's the I live?
That shit's pretty cool.
That's creepy.
Once I get that first dream, I'm out. I know I'm being, I'm repeating myself here, but that it's such a thing in scary movies involving the supernatural where people love to be like, it's just a dream. They love to dismiss dreams.
Yes.
Never dismiss dreams if you're dealing with the supernatural. Dreams are very important. Dreams are warnings.
I like this movie, but I just want to say I think that's a slight issue with it, where I feel like Carpenter is usually very, very good at justifying why people stay or how they behave, and you don't have people succumbing to stupid behavior. But part of the idea that this is this sort of like faith versus science debate, you have these hard science people who are sticking around when shit's getting really bad, as opposed to being like driven by the need to get answers to these things. Because it's just like, this is some fucking assignment we don't care about. I am with you where like at the first sign of anything going gooey, I'm walking out of there. I'm going to a sandwich shop. I'm getting it to go. I'm sitting in a park. I'm never going back to that block ever again.
When we talked about Prometheus, say, we've had these conversations now where we're like, look, there's plenty of evidence that people, do kind of ignore things in the face of danger. And there's a whole obvious sort of HIV metaphor at work in Prince of Darkness. Right. Obviously, like in any 80s movie where a virus is spreading or what, right? Like it's sort of hard to ignore. And so, yeah, it's sort of like, right, life is going on, even though like slowly they're getting picked off in this very grisly way.
This is true.
It also kind of establishes you can't leave. I guess they don't know that the one guy gets impaled by Alice Cooper's bicycle or whatever. But no. The movie at least lets us know that leaving is not really an option for them.
Sure.
It's not. If they ever tried, it's true. Only one of them really tries. But yeah, the anti-god, the liquid, getting squirted is very simple and very effective and very unsettling.
Mm-hmm.
There's an effect that costs you $10, and I, am sort of like squirming in my seat the second I see it.
Right. It's someone with a super soaker off camera. Just, yeah. I mean, the other effect that is very simple and very effective is the goo pooling on the ceiling.
Right, the kind of reverse, like, yeah, that's so cool. That's always good. Liquid is great.
Right,
Shoot
and
liquid
then you get
at any speed in any direction. Yeah,
that horrifying, that wet evil, Ben Hosley's new favorite subgenre. That dummy where the green liquid is just like projectile shooting out of the eye sockets and mouth is also very effective.
So to give you, some idea, right? Dean Cundey obviously had worked with him on Big Trouble in Little China. They had reunited.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't hire him here because he says he's too expensive, and he was making Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
And basically Carpenter's like, he costs too much. I helped price Dean out of my own category, is how he puts it. He promotes Gary Kibbe, who is his guy for the rest of his career, pretty much.
Cundey starts being the guy you hire if you go, we want to do something really challenging that no one's ever done before. And he's going to be paid handsomely to do that, whereas Carpenter is getting smaller in his movies.
Right.
Now.
Carpenter, he can't get the A-team makeup guys anymore either. He's sort of cutting corners on that. But it's good.
Yeah.
Like,
it's good.
Works. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it looks good. I think in a blind taste test, I could tell. I might guess that Cundey shot this because it has that kind of slicked down, wet, a pavement kind of look to it, and the way he lights the night and exteriors. It's very much like a Cundey film.
Gary Kibbe, I hope I'm saying his name right, had been like camera operator on Big Trouble. My guess is he was kind of like ready to step up, right? He had worked with Cundey. He kind of, understood the vibes. But yeah, it's just this movie looks very, very slick and impressive for the budget it's at. And it's a boring observation about Carpenter, but the man could stretch $1, and at this point he could do it better pretty much than anyone else. He gone to the bigger budgets. He's coming back, and he knows he's not really losing a step. It's I kind of wish he had done 4 of these instead of 2, because the 2 he did are good.
Yeah.
And then him going back to, Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Look, I haven't seen it yet, but no one has come to me with, I have a defense of Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Like, no one's got.
I've not heard one. I've not heard one. Lex G might be the only person who has like a strongly. I'm just guessing. I don't even know that for a fact.
It's rough. It's a rough sit. I find even later, weaker Carpenter films pretty easy to watch. But Memoirs of an Invisible Man you'll get to it, but
but it's the one no one sticks up for, basically.
It's just sensibilities that don't go together, and Carpenter very much doing it in work for hire mode, which is not his best way to be.
Look, I mean, we have a great guest for that episode, and I'm looking forward to doing it. But I should also forewarn that guest was like, I'd really like to be on a Carpenter. And we're like, hey, if you want to be on a Carpenter that badly, how about you do Memoirs of an Invisible Man?
No, it didn't even go that way. It was he was like, I'd love to do an episode of Carpenter. Here are like the 5 movies I think that I remember well, and I was like, you fool. You said Memoirs of an Invisible Man. You said 4 good ones, and you said, guess who isn't saying Memoirs? Anyone else? You
Absolutely.
got Memoirs.
Can I call another interesting figure who we have not mentioned yet at this point in the miniseries, I believe, but Larry Franco, who gets like the first title card in this whole movie, right? I think is a Larry Franco production. He is a producer on this. He started as producer, Escape from New York, Starman, Big Trouble, Prince of Darkness, up until They Live. He was also the first assistant director going back to Elvis, The Fog. He was married to Jill Russell, sister of Kurt Russell.
Mm-hmm.
And then true. After this, They Live is his last assistant director movie. And then he just becomes a fucking mega producer. And he does like Batman Begins, right? Mars Attacks, Jurassic Park 3, Hulk, Anonymous, White House Down. David, he even produced your own The Nutcracker in the Four Realms.
Right. Yeah, he did do that.
Wow.
We collabed on that one.
Sleepy Hollow, Jumanji, The Rocketeer, Batman Returns. He is a consulting producer on Jungle Cruise. But just
we're bringing up Jungle Cruise again somehow. We can't
Jungle Cruise.
It.
You can't.
It's not a bad track record, really. I don't like those later. I take that back. White House Down is like the only Roland Emmerich film I do like, but some good titles in there.
It seems like he had he did 2012 and Anonymous as well, so he had like a run with Emmerich, I guess. And obviously, he's got Jurassic Park 3 and Batman.
He did 3 Burtons.
I don't know how these things work, but it's funny. He's uncredited in Apocalypse Now as a soldier clinging to helicopter. So
he was that's second AD on that as well. Yeah,
it is funny how people sort of rise to being I want to be a producer. That sounds fun, Griff. You just like take a bunch of meetings and then you're a millionaire.
You do not want to be a producer.
No, I definitely don't. No. It's really annoying, right? Like you have to do all this bullshit. Deal with all these egotistical jerks. Yeah, anyway. White House Down is good. Prince of Darkness is good. Prince of Darkness. So, okay. To go through, to continue the plot.
Sure.
Cylinder starts dripping.
Mm-hmm.
Susan.
Upwards.
Stripping upwards.
Wrong direction.
Susan, played by Ann Howard. She's the first to go. And she starts, killing other people off. There's a mass of homeless people who surround the building to stop anyone escaping.
Mm-hmm.
Standing there like zombies. I don't know why anyone's not like calling the cops. I guess it's the middle of the night, right? It's all happening in one night.
And this seems like a pretty abandoned corner of Los Angeles too.
Mm-hmm.
And the survivors are all getting a weird dream that is, I think, one of Carpenter's like most disturbing and profound images. Like the way it's presented, the weird kind of VHS creepiness of it, the figure in the doorway, the weird, stilted dialogue you're hearing. It's my background. It's just the kind of it's the kind of creepy that really, really pushes my buttons.
Do you know how they achieved that effect?
How?
He just shot a television. Like I think he was playing a VHS recording and then shot the television playing it, which works great.
Yeah, he shot a TV on film, which I've talked about numerous times. How I think we lost something when screens became HD, because you used to be able to do interesting things with the differing picture quality in movies. Right. people watching surveillance cameras and things like that. But yeah, I think he filmed this on video, put it on a TV, filmed the TV on film.
It's cool. This is not a dream, of course. It is. They're dreaming, but it is not a dream.
It's a message from the year 1999.
It's the same way like The Ring really gets me. Just that sort of notion of like fairly mundane images belying utter creepiness.
Well, I think a big part of it is, I mean, we're talking about
hidden,
like,
the Haneke movie, like that. Yeah.
But Keith, you were saying how like this was a movie you didn't really appreciate until you saw it in widescreen. You saw it in like a good enough resolution. There is something creepy, and I do think this is a reason why horror and comedy played better on VHS for a long time, right? Like the movies that had like huge VHS second lives tended to be in those two genres because comedy is like broad, it's verbal, you're not losing a lot in translation perhaps. And with VHS and horror, I think some of the abstraction that happened in the limitations of the format and the loss of detail lended this otherworldliness to movies. Its ability or inability rather to like fully showcase fine detail and shadows and things like that. You get these weird abstracted images like this, like The Ring, where something that's creepy about it is that you can't see what's happening very clearly.
I can buy that. Yeah. I'll have to think about that for a while, but that makes sense.
Yeah. Helps you fill in the gaps with your imagination, freak yourself out even more, maybe. You know, I can see that. It's crazy to think that we watch stuff on VHS.
No, I think it's madness to go back to it, though. I keep thinking of that scene in While We're Young where they watched The Howling on VHS. Like, you don't have to do that.
Look, I mean, this is how fucking Alex does it. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know.
He was evangelizing.
So much nostalgia for the VHS era. I worked at a video store. Like, it gives me like a Proustian tingle to handle a VHS tape, but no, I'm going to watch a Blu-ray. no way I'm watching VHS if I don't have to.
Someone in the Reddit, I think, posted a picture of like their sort of stack of Carpenter VHSs. And, they're all a little worn and it's those cardboard sleeves. And I looked upon that with great nostalgia, and owning Carpenter VHS is a perfect, I'm sure a great match but come on. I whatever. I can't go that far to actually want to watch it in that format.
It's that thing like when the Sunshine Theater in New York, RIP, had their every weekend midnight movie, right? Every weekend there was a Friday, Saturday midnight movie that was some revival thing, and it would always be a print. And you would go there and it would be a grab bag as to what quality the print was in, because they were not dealing with like newly remastered, newly struck prints. And sometimes you would get something that was just like beaten to hell. And it's not like that improves the movie, but it does give you a certain specific vibe, And it is the difference between going to a rep screening where the vibe is, oh, fuck, this print has been in like someone's basement since this movie was in first run theaters 40 years ago, versus like someone took time and care and effort to make this look as good as it did when it came out. I always prefer to see the accurate representation, but sometimes there's a nice vibe given by watching something in a weird form.
Yeah, I had the reverse experience exactly once. We did the screening where Alex Winter came and they screened Death Wish 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a like pristine print. Like maybe it had been screened once when it was first released. It was the most amazing experience. I mean, it's obviously it's not the prettiest movie in very many, in ways both visual and thematic, but it was strange it was like a time machine.
Yeah, I mean, anytime I feel like I go to a fucking rep theater and a print starts and it's that good, I feel like I've won the lottery.
Mm.
But there's certain movies you would want to see in a grainy, grimy, like, this got played 100 times.
Like Death Wish 3.
Print, right? Probably Death Wish 3, for example. I mean, I watched the Griff, do you have the 4K? I assume it's one of the Shout Factories. I can't remember.
I do. Yeah, I have that. Yeah.
And I want to listen to the commentary. This, those packages are all very well done.
Yeah, the commentary is great. I mean, it is in some ways awful because Carpenter he does not want to give you a whole lot about his movies, but it's basically Peter Jason remembering the plot of the movie better than Carpenter does. Like Carpenter's like, I don't know, something happens here. And he's like, no, what happens is they go to this room and look at this book and then, it's fun.
The man made a lot of movies, okay? You can't keep it all straight. And this is the one, I guess, that never got revisited. No one ever tried to remake it. No one turned it into a video game.
No.
I'm sure that there are horror conventions that celebrate it. But you know what I mean? Like, this is not the one with as long a tail. So he probably does not think about it as much.
Yeah, I wonder where this sort of sits in his personal rankings, especially just because I feel like increasingly, since we've started this miniseries, I've been hearing people say, like, you haven't watched that yet? That's like secretly the best one. Or that's like the masterpiece that no one talks about. Like, I feel like it's being reclaimed and put towards the top of the pile for him.
Well, when Vulture did a ranking of John Carpenter films written by, who did that? Oh, yeah, me. I believe I put it, let's see.
I'm checking now.
Number 12. So above Elvis, but below Christine and Starman, which I think if I do it again, maybe I put it above Christine at least.
I would notch it above those two. I would have it below The Fog, which you have above it, and Escape from New York, Big Trouble. I would have it below pretty much everything else you have it below. But yeah, I think I would put it over Christine and Starman, which are both movies I like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess this is just more specific.
There's more. This is more of a Carpenter film.
It is more of a Carpenter film. And Christine and Starman are really good versions of movies I can get elsewhere. I don't know where else I'm getting Prince of Darkness.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair.
That's well said.
I like seeing Carpenter's take on a Stephen King. I like seeing Carpenter's take on a more, family E.T. type, but like, yeah, what the hell? Where did this come from? Like, it's wonderful.
I don't even know how you remake it in the sense that it has a premise, but it's not one that is, I don't know how you reboot it or rethink it. It's just, you kind of have to do Satan is a jar in a basement, which is, I think you only get to do that once, really.
Yeah, every filmmaker gets one Satan in a jar in a basement movie.
Satan in a jar. That sounds like some weird folk song that like someone plays on a banjo.
Absolutely.
Satan in a jar. Yeah, I don't know. Someone will now try to remake it now that we have spoken this into existence. I can only imagine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it'll be announced 5 minutes from now that, Warner Brothers is going to do a Prince of Darkness movie and a spin-off TV show on HBO Max, and it'll buffer 5 times when you try and watch it.
Absolutely can't wait.
I can see this being an awful miniseries, like something that's like 10 episodes.
Oh,
yeah. The jar doesn't even open for the first 3.
Keith, the cosmic sigh that cost me.
I like the Mike Flanagan shows, right? And those are slow. The
new one's good too.
Flanagan's good.
I can't wait to watch the new one. Midnight Mass, right? That's what it's called. But I did, read a review today with like, you don't really know what's going on until episode 4. And I was like, I can't believe that we're allowed to get away with this. You know what I mean? Even when it's good.
I reviewed that, and the please do not spoil these details list is hilarious because I won't spoil it, but it's like the first item is please do not spoil the basic premise of the show.
Right.
Don't reveal the title. You know what I really like? I like when Mike Flanagan makes movies.
Well, I do too.
No disrespect to his TV shows, but movies are fucking cool.
Yeah, movies are cool, but the man has made a fair amount of movies in the last 10 years. So, at least he pumps them out.
No, he is one of those people. I do not understand the space-time dynamics of play that allow him to make this much stuff, especially because his stuff is long and intricate.
Long, intricate, and largely good. Yeah. Not easy. But anyway, I do need to watch it. But it's good, Keith. You like?
Yeah, very much recommend it.
I'm a Hamish Linklater fan.
Yeah, it is a revelatory Hamish Linklater performance. Like I've always liked him, but this is. I mean, everyone's good. It's a good cast. His rep players are good, and Zach Gelford from Friday Night Lights it's a nice part for him. But Linklater is amazing in this.
I love him. I am such a New Adventures of Old Christine was like the best assemblage of acting talent, in a sitcom, almost by mistake in the 21st century.
Dreyfuss, Sykes, Linklater. Who else was on that show?
Clark Gregg is the other big one.
Obviously, yes. Sorry,
Emily Rutherford, who I think is really funny, and Trisha O'Kelly, who's been around. But like, it's really those four. Where it's sort of like, how did they get away with just like they're all full time. Anyway, but Linklater is the wildest one because he plays kind of a doofus on that show. He's her like dumb, not dumb, but like he's her sort of layabout brother. And then like I remember seeing him on stage a few years later. And I was like, oh, that was like against type. I'm realizing
he's
like
sort
this
of
guy more plays
intellectual,
nerdy,
right?
Yeah, intellectual types like who wear a scarf and like kind of maybe are authority figures or something like that. But then and anyway, I like Hamish Linklater. Come on the show, Hamish Linklater.
He'd be good in the Prince of Darkness remake, right? Whatever part. He could do the place.
He could play the priest.
Yeah.
David,
what's going on?
I'm really going through it right now.
What could it be?
It's that thing. I mean, I know this is like stupid of me to complain about because everyone goes through this. It's not a unique experience. It's just that time of the year. I recently realized that the giant canister I've been guarding in my basement for centuries is actually filled with anti-God.
Oh no.
And
I hate it when that happens.
I know, and it's just got me really stressed out. I'm not sleeping well.
Well, you need a different canister, or maybe I don't know, a cookie or a gummy or a tincture.
A tincture, you say?
Look, I'm just saying, maybe you need some Delta 8 THC products, and you know who makes those best? You know who created this product? 3She.
Yes. 3She.
These are products formulated by biochemists.
Yes.
They're made in the USA with USA grown hemp. And they're the first federally legal THC products sold in the USA since Prohibition started almost 90 years ago. Okay. It's federally legal.
Wow.
It's sort of a perfect hybrid of CBD and Delta 9. So it gives you a buzz. Got the medicinal effects of Delta 9, but without the laziness, the anxiety, the paranoia, which you don't need right now. You don't need mental fogginess when you're dealing with a canister of anti-God.
I was gonna say that's fulfilling my paranoia quota for the week right now. David, I mean, you make a compelling argument, but what if I just screwed off the top of this anti-God canister and I sipped just a little bit of it? Is that a good idea?
No, instead, just go to Delta 8 products. They're a functional alternative to marijuana. It's going to have you feeling amazing and yet functional and clear-headed instead of lazy and paranoid. You're going to have the same great feelings without the negative side effects. It isn't just the best in the Delta 8 industry, 3She. They invented the industry.
What?
I already said that, but it's true.
It's worth saying twice.
100% hemp-derived, federally legal, available online at 3she.com. That's the number 3chi.com, and at select retailers around the country. You got to be 21 to purchase it, but apart from that, just go to 3she.com. Again, 3chi.com, number 3, to shop for Delta 8 vapes, gummies, tinctures, and oils that can be used to make homemade edibles.
Tinctures?
They got tinctures. Now, you do have to use code BC2021 at checkout to receive 5% off your order.
Of course.
You must be 21 to purchase. That's all that's required.
What if I just took like a tiny sip? I know it sounds like 3She has been cleared by everybody. It's probably it's a smarter route to go, but I just took a little sip of anti-God.
Well, you can mix and match, see how it goes. But 3she.com for your Delta 8 products. 3She. So yeah, the disease starts spreading. They start killing each other. I don't know. What's there for us to talk about? Like, I feel like it's more like specific little death set pieces at this point, and like makeup jobs and things like that.
It becomes kind of a zombie version of Assault on Precinct 13, which was itself kind of a zombie movie already.
Right.
I just have to pull this up. You just saying, David, like, I don't know, there's this thing in the basement that kills people. I don't know, what is there to say? Right. There was a Reddit post recently on the Blank Check subreddit that was let me find this. They were writing parodies of the way you summarize movies exasperately.
Yeah.
Can I read a couple of these? Because they're really good. Okay, so this was easy to remember CPL. I don't know. A kid keeps seeing scary ghosts until a psychiatrist tells him they aren't scary. Not a lot happens, really. That's David does The Sixth Sense. Here's another one. Guy doesn't remember things. Guy doesn't remember thing. Wife is dead. He's got tattoos. I think they're characters from The Matrix. And I don't know. Shit's all backwards. And then that was Regret Popular 9970. These are really well. Like, you could hear your voice in these. The third and final one, once again, from Easy to Remember, CPL. I mean, a guy runs a bar and his ex-girlfriend shows up. He's kind of into her, and I guess not because he runs off with her current guy. Some Nazis show up too. I mean, I don't know. What do you want from me?
Wait. What is that one? I'm sorry.
Casablanca.
I was like trying to think of movies we've covered.
No, the first two were, and then the third one. But the ending line of, I don't know, what do you want from me?
I do often say, what do you want from me? What do people want from me? I guess they want an entertaining show that gets
the
into
world.
The details of their movies.
They want the world, yeah.
They want the world from me. No, I can't organize the back half of this movie in my brain very well.
I can't
because it's kind of just like disconnected little set pieces, which is fine.
Well, it's also it's sort of him going like Buñuel and just giving you fucking nightmares.
Yeah, and the idea, of course, is that the sort of reality versus dream line is getting blurred anyway. Like where it's sort of hard to tell like what is going on.
Right. What do you want from me?
What do you want from me?
I have a Carpenter quote that's kind of the equivalent of "What do you want from me?"
Please.
I'm speaking to the Pittsburgh
He's the
Post
best at
Gazette. This is Pittsburgh Post Gazette, which frames it in such a way as like, these days at 40, he's a happy man. Despite after walking away from the studio system, which Carpenter was never a happy man.
No,
right?
absolutely never.
The man is not happy.
It's an audience participation film. It's very scary. I will guarantee you one thing, however, it will get bad reviews. It's too difficult for critics to support something like Prince of Darkness. They are loath to praise a horror film, but I always get bad reviews for my films. I've learned to live with it.
He is not wrong, which is unfortunate. Like, it is true.
Yeah, it did get bad reviews.
These 80s movies where he's like pumping out gold and people were like, I don't know, John. Like, it's a little campy, or it's a little like derivative, or it's a little cheesy. I don't know what critics wanted from genre movies. Look,
I think they didn't want them, period. I think this was a point in time where they were not allowed into the realm of respectability.
I think people who knew Carpenter and had taste respected him, but I don't think he really became a revered, like, canonical figure until the aughts.
No, and it's also this bizarre thing where you read these reviews and it's like, we're covering these. Most of these movies were not particularly well reviewed upon release. And then you get to something like Prince of Darkness and everyone's complaint is that it's not as good as early Carpenter movies. Like, it feels like he is being canonized as quickly as they are dismissing the movies that will then be canonized later.
But that's what must have been very annoying for him, where he's like, you guys didn't like my old shit.
Right.
And now you're acting like you did because it turned out that was, that was very important and a huge hit and all that. And now you're like, he's kind of rerunning the old shit or whatever. Jonathan Rosenbaum and Dave Kerr gave it good reviews. There are some good reviews you can find of it, but it does feel like largely it was dismissed. And I think partly also him going to a smaller budget was probably kind of viewed with disdain by some critics, kind of like all right, he struck out in Hollywood and now he's making, genre crap again. Yeah.
I think it also, a little footnote here, is it came out not too long after a film called Black Moon Rising, which he wrote. And I think it was like kind of packaged as, I think it was an old script that got made. I don't know. I've never seen it, but I think it kind of got packaged as John Carpenter's Black Moon Rising, and I don't think it was a liked film.
I think that was a film in the El Dorado, Eyes of Laura Mars run where he was just trying to write stuff for hire. I just want to circle back to something quickly. You called out Frank Carasosa, who's the makeup head on this movie, who got promoted after all his people that he had.
Right. He'd been a crew guy, and he's getting to go to the top. Right.
That name meant nothing to me, but then I was looking at the dossier. He now goes by Francesco X. Perez.
Cool name.
He was the makeup guy on Draft Day. I know him very well. He's an excellent dude. But it is fascinating because he is not primarily like a special effects makeup guy, which I guess they called out that he was just meant to be the general makeup artist. And they were like, I don't know, can you do monsters and shit? He is like Costner's go-to guy. He has a couple of the stars he works with every time like that. And a couple times he's gotten called in to do like special effects. He works with Eastwood a lot as well. He worked on almost every Costner movie during like the Glory run.
So he can gussy up a craggy star, is what you're saying. An Eastwood or a Costner or a Newman.
Well, the crackiest of all. Yes. And then he has like sprinkled in a couple ones where it's like, oh, he did the alien makeups on Earth Girls Are Easy, you know?
He worked on Avengers Endgame, or a lot of Avengers, actually, it looks like. Yeah. Or two.
Yeah, right. X-Men First Class. But those movies are so fucking big, too, that like even...
He's got a lot of makeup people, right.
Right, because he was key makeup artist, which makes me think one of the 87 cast members might have said, like, he's my guy. Like, he's a dude who primarily is I have my 3 actors I work with, I'll follow them anywhere kind of thing. But he does not strike you as someone who is a special effects makeup artist, but then every time he's been called in to do it, he fucking knocks it out of the park.
The makeup in this is extraordinary.
Yes,
and Carpenter says like the guy basically gave him some sketches and for the big transformations, and Carpenter was like, "Yeah, you're in. You're the guy. Just do it."
It's wild. And he does They Live too, which obviously has iconic makeup. And then I don't know. I think Dances with Wolves then pulls him into the like he is an A-list leading man.
Kenny gets him.
Man's man makeup guy. But also Francisco S. Perez is fucking such a good name. Let's just call that out for a second.
I mean, to be fair, it's probably easier to do Costner than to do a They Live alien. It's probably something, it possibly even pays better.
Keith, I mean, you haven't seen Costner at 5 a.m. It might be more difficult.
It looks like a They Live alien.
Yeah.
I just think it must be, I don't know. I haven't like working with the weird sensitivity with those guys where like Costner on Dances with Wolves versus Costner on Draft Day.
Absolutely.
The extra work you have to do and how you have to slowly introduce it, probably, right? Like, hey, I'm gonna do this now, right? Like you have to like do a new thing. Yeah.
Look, I love hair and makeup people, and I always fucking beeline for them when I'm working on anything.
They got all the goss.
Well,
right?
they got all the goss, but I also think they can become your like on-set mother, father, sort of like home base
sounding
sort
board,
of,
right?
And you begin and end the day with them and whatever. And like I don't have any goss to spill here. But we talked a lot about like he just has this very close personal relationship with Costner for 30 plus years, where it is like he to some degree has to function as a security blanket for this guy. Not just in terms of like tending to his emotional needs at the beginning and end of the day, but it's also just like this guy is very on guard about his self-image. And I am the line of defense to preserve that and make sure he looks like Kevin Costner every moment. And then sometimes I design aliens.
Or fucking anti-God.
Yeah.
The servants of anti-God, I guess. But like when one of the creatures is trying to, I think it's Kelly, right? It's Susan Blanchard is trying to like get him through the mirror, and she's doing her little like makeup mirror, right? Mm-hmm. Or whatever. Like the time. I don't know what the hell is going on there. No one's really explaining what's going on there. I guess that he can't fit through it. I guess is that the problem, right? But like, a lot of the horror is fairly abstract in the sort of final act of the movie.
Yeah, the mirror scene is awesome, and it's done it's done like John Cocteau's Orphée, where
it's so good.
The mirror is mercury, and you have to wear heavy protective material to reach through it. I mean, and Orphée it's basically you have to put on these special gloves before you can go to the underworld, which is a very silly convention that totally works in that film. And here, the imagery is just as striking here.
Cocteau and Buñuel feel like the two guys he's cribbing from a lot once the goo gets loose. Did you see this additional fact that
loose.
The goo is loose? That was the working title for this movie. Did you see the additional fact JJ put in that there were 39,000 bugs used in this production?
I want to give credit specifically to Nick because JJ, I remember, I just want to say, because JJ texted me being like, hey, the Prince of Darkness dossier is almost done. Nick's just checking one thing about bugs. And then he was like,
wow.
Okay.
6,000
39,000 bugs.
3,000
right.
worms and one Emma Stefanski salivating at this trivia fact.
The bugs are unsettling. I don't like it.
Icky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy covered in bugs and then he disintegrates essentially.
I was going to say that for me
off.
is the most upsetting image in the movie, when bugs come out of a man and then the man crumbles and turns into bugs.
In some ways, I think the ants on the television is one of the most disturbing images in the film as well, because TVs aren't supposed to have ants on them. That's just not right.
Absolutely not.
You nailed it. That's how you know something is amiss. My TV never has ants crawling.
And that's also how you know that Keith has a keen eye.
Right.
Most critics weren't able to put their finger on what's off-putting about that image.
Keith cracks open the notebook and he's like, ants on TV, unusual, and then underlines unusual.
Wrong?
Actually, it's question mark. Look up later.
Yeah.
Right. Check TV. Does it have ants or no? Now I'm watching the bug guy disintegrate. Again, a very simple effect, because it's really just an empty suit falling to the ground.
Filled with bugs, and then the bugs spill out of every...
And there's just so many bugs.
Yeah.
God.
That moment when the head just rolls off and bugs are spewing out of it. Yeah.
It just feels like it's like, with your Halloweens, your Precinct 13s, Carpenter's innovating, like, how can I figure out how to stretch a doll? Now he's coming back and he's like, yeah, I know what I'm doing.
Right.
I know how to make like 8 incredibly inventive scares for nothing. Like, he's the master of horror. The master of horror. This movie also has cool matte paintings, apparently.
Should we talk about the end of this movie? Oh, sorry.
The moon over the church, it's really cool. And it's only when you look at it, you realize it's a painting.
Yeah. The end of this movie. Okay, well, there's this big mirror. And they're trying to get Anti-God out of it. And he's got a big, creepy bug hand. I don't know how else to describe it. Right?
Yeah.
It's Kelly, Susan Blanchard. I don't know. She's all goopy.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to pull him out. And Lisa Blount does the sort of noble thing. She basically pushes everyone inside, including herself. It's cool. I love all the mirror stuff. Again, we don't really know what's going on, but I get it. Like, right? I sort of get the abstract.
It's another place in which I'd like to watch this movie a couple more times. Not that I think there are clean, clear answers I will get from it, but just to have my bearings on it a little more.
Keith, the ending. I mean, I guess it's sort of interesting and surprising that so many people survive. Because I think, Donald Pleasance, Victor Wong survive. What's this, obviously the main guy, Simon and Simon survive. Jameson Parker.
Mm-hmm.
That's his name, right? Yeah.
But we lose Blount.
We do. We do. We lose some people. There's some.
You
good
really expect
deaths.
To be a much higher body count, but that sort of noble sacrifice that in the final twist we realize might have backfired after all. The payoff for the dream sequence is really cool, and I love. I think it's whatever like kind of incoherent visual madness this film descends to, but at the end, I think that having that through line of like, we're going to give you a little bit more of this dream sequence each time you see it is a really brilliant way to keep people hooked.
And it's a little different every time. Like there's little subtle differences to it. It's very, I want to rewatch it just for that. And every horror movie of the 80s has that ending of like, well, you thought it was over, but right. You have to have the sort of question mark ending. Right. But this is a perfect way to do that, I think.
This feels less cheap than a lot of those. Than the sort of like, oh wait, the killer is still on the loose. This feels like it's kind of ties into the themes and the plot of the rest of the film.
I do like the quick moment where they're watching the Tom and Jerry cartoon, and you have like the fucking cat in a devil's suit with the horns and the trident just poking him, and it is Carpenter just kind of saying like, that's pretty fucking goofy, right? That we thought about that. Now, please redirect your attention to this vial of goo.
Yeah, just could have done with a Pleasance death scene. I mean, the guy can sell a death scene.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, like just imagine him like finally going wild and whatever, getting torn apart by zombies or transforming into a monster. So that's the only thing I feel a little. Does Carpenter ever kill Pleasance off?
Pleasance is unkillable, right? Yeah,
he is kind of unkillable in the Carpenter like.
This is his last film with Carpenter too, right?
Yeah, it is. And, he does 2-3 more Halloweens, but he doesn't even die in the Halloweens. He dies off screen in the Halloween 6, but
Right, which is the one made after he died, right?
It comes out after he dies.
Okay,
and so
okay.
he like wanders off at the end, and then you hear him go like, ah! And you're like, oh, I guess he died.
That is wild.
That's the Rudd one, right?
Yeah, that's the Rudd
That
one.
movie is wild to watch now because it's kind of like, if you see it as Paul Rudd giving a comedic performance, it becomes a very different film.
It's very strange that Rudd is in it. It's like the same year as Clueless.
Is that the last original continuity movie?
It is the last of the films that are going off of Halloween 2. Yes.
Right.
Well, I mean, obviously, H2O is going off of 2, but it's ignoring.
It's the last
4, 5,
movie
6,
where Halloween
yes.
4 is. I don't fucking know anymore. Yeah. Every time we try to parse this, we get more confused.
It's picking up. Halloween 5 ends with Michael Myers being freed from prison by a guy with a tattoo, and 6 is the one that's like, it's all part of a demonic cult. Let's explain. And then that's never obviously revisited. That is six exclusive.
Is it druids in that too?
Yes, the Cult of Thorn.
So it does connect to Halloween 3 in a way, right?
It does. That's true. It all comes back around. And I'm sure, David Gordon Green will wrap up his Halloween trilogy, and then some other great director will swoop in and be like, I really wanted to make an homage to those middle Halloween movies with the druids and stuff, and it'll all come back around.
Well, they'll hate Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, and they'll be like, I want to make a proper sequel to David Gordon Green's Halloween, ignoring the other 2 David Gordon Green Halloween movies.
What if they're like, at the beginning of movies now, it's just like, where they're like, to explain the continuity, this movie is connected to Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween, David Gordon Green's Halloween, nothing else. You're like, wait, how is it connected to all 3? It just is, okay? I'm bringing it all together.
Do you remember what a fucking hurdle it was for Warner Brothers marketing to explain the Superman Returns thing to people, and how now every movie is like, you need to understand what it's going off. So it's not, but it's sort of direct thematically. It's more that.
And now, people in the general public talk about multiverses.
Insane.
Which is just something that comic book people came up with to explain how comic books had existed for so damn long and could, have a functional continuity. It's not a good storytelling method. It's just nonsense.
My daughter, who is 10 and who loves comic books and loves the Marvel stuff, and has a much better grasp of different continuities and intellectual property and who owns the rights. I didn't understand any of that stuff at 10. I didn't have to, but she's got it.
It's a bummer that she has to understand who owns the intellectual property rights, though, which is unfortunately very crucial.
Yeah.
Well, and is now, I mean, it's fundamentally important if you want to keep track of what's on what streaming service.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer about what aired where, it's about who ended up retaining the rights. Can I gripe about something for 1 second off of this tangent?
You're going to gripe? Okay.
I have seen people who complain about the Masters of the Universe show I'm on, and their complaint is, I would actually like it if it was a multiverse story. It just bums me out that it's mainline continuity. To which I say, then it's a multiverse story. What do you mean?
Who cares?
Any of this stuff is
whatever
you want
multiverse you want in your head. Exactly.
Also, that's how you should interpret everything, which is, this is one group of people with their interpretation of how to do this thing, and everything is going to be negated or retconned or reestablished later by someone else. Just think of everything as whatever it is.
To have to worry about a large corporation telling you that something is canon or not at this point, it's okay. Make your own canon.
It's okay. Make your own canon. Make your own canon.
I know we're not the first people to say this, obviously, but still.
If you like the thing more, if you don't think of it as being literally tied to the other thing, then that's how you should watch it. Watch it the way that you enjoy it the most. Box office game.
Before we do the box office game, Keith, any other Prince of Darkness things you want to hit? Anything we missed?
I had a list, but I think we got through all of them. Has anyone ever seen a film with Amanda Plaisance in it?
Oh no.
She's good. She's a good actress, but it's a strange thing because she's a lovely woman who looks like Donald Pleasance.
Sure.
She does.
Your brain can't quite process these two things at once.
Fascinating.
I'm seeing apparently she has a small role in Gangs of New York, Woman Accomplice. I know that isn't she the one who liked Carpenter's Escape from New York?
I think it was the other one, because he had a daughter who was a musician who was part of a punk band, I believe.
Right.
I think that's the other one.
He had 5 kids. So, I just know, right?
Okay,
one
so
of his
then he
daughters.
had 3 other
got him
ones
into
that I'm
girl.
ignoring. Yes.
How dare you ignore them? Yeah, he actually had 5 girls, all daughters.
Wow.
5 kids, all daughters. Anyway.
It also looks like she currently works as a psychotherapist in London.
That's cool.
Good for her.
She wanders around in a trench coat with a gun trying to seek out her past patients who she couldn't fix.
Stand away, child. There's that. One day we'll watch Halloween 2 in which Donald Pleasance murders someone really quickly without asking a lot of questions. He really gets really trigger happy in the later ones. It's Michael Myers. Like, it's a lot of that. Anyway, box office game. This movie came out appropriately October 23rd, 1987. Came out right at scary time.
Sure.
And it was, for it made, what, $3 million. It made $14 million.
Yeah. Who's
mad, right?
He's back in being, thrifty, being able to turn a quick profit. He's not lighting the world on fire, but everyone's happy.
But number one at the box office in its 6th week of release, still number one, is it the highest grossing film of 1987? If not, it's right up there because it was a huge smash. It's the 2nd highest grossing film because, of course, 3 Men and a Baby was number 1.
Of course. Okay,
we always have to acknowledge.
This is a weird fucking year. We always like to cite 3 Men and a Baby as being the oddest number 1 of a box office year ever.
Right.
Is this the movie that would have more conventionally been a number 1 and surprising that 3 Men and a Baby beat it? Or is this a movie that also is surprising to have become that much of a blockbuster?
Well, it's an R-rated movie. It's an adult thriller. It's just surprising to
Fatal Attraction?
But it's Fatal Attraction.
The number 2 highest grossing film of its year.
It was a phenomenon beyond compare. Every grown-up in the world had to see Fatal Attraction. I think that's how that movie did it.
Do you know who was offered Fatal Attraction?
Was John Carpenter offered?
John Carpenter was offered.
John Carpenter.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, he probably would have done a good job with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
He would have done a job with it. I assume he just turned it down because whatever.
I think he was out of the studio. He was done with the studios at that point.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. Fatal Attraction number 1, but also Griffin. It's 6th week, and it's growing. You know what I mean? Like it's just crazy. Okay, number 2 is Prince of Darkness. $4.5 million is its opening. Number 3 is another new movie.
But look, he beat the entire budget opening weekend. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's pure profit.
That has to be a happy phone call, right?
Right.
Like no one's like, that's why he makes another one. Okay.
Yeah.
This is not a movie I know.
Mm-hmm.
It's from Peter Yates, the director Peter Yates.
Okay.
Who made that's? I'm telling you that because I feel like you don't have Peter Yates' filmography, on
Memorized.
file in your brain.
Sure, right.
But, The Hot Rock, Friends of Eddie Coyle, but also like Krull, Breaking Away.
Right.
It's a legal thriller.
Okay.
It's got a major Oscar-winning star, although maybe she won her Oscar this year. Yes, this is the year of her Oscar win.
87.
But not for this. And it's got this very bland title that is a title that I guess is appropriate for a legal thriller. The title ends in a T, and the T is a gavel.
I may know this if Griffin doesn't.
Fucking holy shit. It's not Jessica Lange.
No, it's not Jessica Lange.
I'm trying to think of major stars who win their Oscar in the late 80s. I'm stumped here. Keith, what's your guess?
It's Suspect, starring Cher, right?
Correct. The film is Suspect.
I've never seen it
in 10,000 years.
Cher, can you tell me the male lead? Anyone tell me? Can you tell me the male lead?
Quaid.
Dennis Quaid is the male lead, and Liam Neeson, young Liam Neeson, is playing the suspect.
John Mahoney is the judge.
John Mahoney is the judge. Look, it sounds good.
Fuck,
I don't
this
know.
cast. I mean, you have Joe Mantegna, Philip Bosco, Fred Melamed, Bill Cobbs, Michael Beach.
This is great.
Yates is a filmography, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But apparently, I don't know. People don't like it. I don't think it was a big hit. And it's just funny to think that Cher made this the same year as Moonstruck. Like,
yeah, that's
you don't
wild.
think of Cher as someone who was in a lot of movies as much as she was a good actress.
No. And especially like Moonstruck, they were like, fuck, I guess we finally got to give it to her. She's a movie star. but they were like pushing against it so much.
But in 87, she did Suspect, Witches of Eastwick, and Moonstruck. It's 3 big movies.
It's kind of amazing because one thing that happened when she showed up in the trailer for Silkwood, audiences would laugh, and like it would become She was. I mean, that was just 4 years previous to this.
Right. Well, it's like she does 3 movies
now, right?
She does 3 movies in the 60s. She does nothing in the 70s, and then it's Come Back to the Five and Dime, 82. Silkwood, 83, first Oscar nomination. She silences the critics. Mask, 85, and then 87, the 3 movies we cited.
Yep.
It's wild. And then Mermaids, 1990, and she pretty much does cameos after that.
Yeah, Mermaids is kind of Tea with Mussolini. She did have Tea with Mussolini.
She has Tea with Mussolini, and she has Burlesque. I don't know if she drinks tea with Mussolini, but that's like The Player cameo, Pret-a-Porter cameo, Stuck on You playing herself, Zookeeper, she plays a fucking giraffe or something. I'm sorry, she's a lioness. She's a lioness.
More appropriate for her to play a lioness.
Her and Stallone. And then, of course, she finally comes full circle with Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again.
Only other thing about Suspect, written by Eric Roth, a younger Eric Roth.
Weird.
Maybe it's
his
good.
Earlier roles. Maybe it's good. Let's check it out. Number 4 at the box office is an enduring cult classic, a comedy, fantasy, adventure film that I think was a reasonable hit at the time, but has become a bigger, beloved
Princess Bride
movie. It's The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Which has never been one of my movies, but is obviously good.
A film I find charming, and I'm still, to this day, somewhat surprised that it has become like the thing.
Oh, come on. I love that movie.
I like it. I got 0 complaints.
I think there's a lot of those 80s cult classics that I was a little too young for. I really like The Princess Bride, but like Stand By Me, another Reiner movie. Goonies, right, where I have no nostalgia for it. It just was sort of already presented to me as a nostalgic movie. Keith, do you like The Princess Bride?
I do. I think might have been a little too old to fall in love with it, but I do like it. And I took my daughter to see it at a Fathom screening or something, and she liked it, but she hated. She was younger then, but she was terrified of the sword fighting for some reason. Like the creatures didn't bother her, but the sword play.
Sword fighting is pretty good too. It's got
intense,
some pretty nice. Yeah.
I find sword fighting scary. We don't need to do that anymore.
You're out on sword fighting.
I get it. I agree with your daughter. Why are we doing this?
Number 5 at the box office
on
this chilly October weekend.
It's scary.
Is a film I don't know at all. Let's see. Let me look it up. It's a 1987 film, of course. Oh no, I do know this film. Of course, I know this film. It is a body swap comedy.
Oh, okay. So is it Vice Versa?
No.
Is it the George Burns one?
No.
Is it?
We're exposing how many body swap comedies there are.
Is it like Father Like Son?
It is like Father Like Son.
Okay.
Dudley Moore and Kirk Cameron.
I'm trying to remember which one it is. It might be Vice Versa, which is the Judge Reinhold Charlie Schlatter one. Is that right? There's one of the body swap movies from this era. Siskel and Ebert went to their graves contending was better than Big. They were perplexed that Big was the one that broke out, and that whether it was either Dudley Moore or Judge Reinhold, whoever played the adult, gave a better performance.
Let me tell you, it wasn't like Father Like Son, because as the Wikipedia page will tell you, Ebert called it one of the most desperately bad comedies I've ever seen. And Siskel went further and said it was a cheap marketing decision masquerading as a comedy. So Siskel did not play good cop. He was angrier.
I think it was Vice Versa then, maybe.
They must have loved Vice Versa. I mean, I don't know.
I think there's one that critics kind of went for, because it's all pretty big, and Big put them all, well, unless you're Siskel or Ebert or whatever, they put them all to shame. But there's one that kind of got decent reviews. I couldn't tell you which one.
I mean, it's also just bizarre where it's like Father Like Son, 87, 18 Again, 88, Vice Versa, 88.
88, right. It's all happening at once.
What's the one with the Hames in it? There's one with the Hames?
Okay, well, 18 Again is the one that's Charlie Schlatter and Burns.
Roger Ebert loved Vice Versa. He gave it 3.5 out of 4 stars. And he says, like, I know it's another body swap comedy, and yet it's all so well done.
Yeah.
And the body language from Reinhold and Savage is wonderful. I don't know. It's not like he's saying like he has some sort of galaxy brain take on it. He just seems to think it's a well done version.
But part of his take was better than Big, Reinhold better than Hanks.
Sorry, I said the Hames when I meant the Coreys, and the film I'm thinking of is Dream a Little Dream.
Sure.
Although I'm not sure what the plot of it is. I think it's a body swap thing.
Dream a Little Dream with Jason Robards, Corey Feldman, and Piper Laurie. Yep, is a body switch. I think between 4 characters. It's a 4-way body switch.
Well, that deep into the cycle, you had to up the ante, right?
Yeah. Jason Robards, what's the swapping? And then there's a Dream a Little Dream 2?
There was a direct-to-video sequel featuring the Coreys, Feldman and Haim. But no one else. That has ordinary sunglasses that lets someone manipulate the person wearing them. I don't know. Look, guys.
I don't fucking know.
We got to pull out of this tailspin.
It's just amazing that there were like 5 of these within 3 years.
I think this is a Patreon series.
Oh, boy.
Other movies in the top 10. You've got Baby Boom, which we've discussed, the Nancy Meyers Charles Shine movie.
Kind of Nancy's Breakout, yeah. Well, I guess no. Private Benjamin's happened. I'm an idiot. I'm a fucking moron. Go on.
You've got The Sicilian. You're not an idiot.
I am.
The Michael Cimino flop that's based on like a lesser Mario Puzo novel, right? That's kind of like, Italian Godfather.
Which is loosely connected to the Godfather films, I believe, or at least the book is.
Well, Keith, I don't think so. I like to think of Sicilian as a multiverse story within the Godfather universe.
Exactly.
You've got Ridley Scott's Someone to Watch Over Me, probably one of his least well-known movies with Tom Berenger and Mimi Rogers.
Can I just also call out, boiling hot take, Christopher Lambert, kind of weird casting for a Sicilian.
Yeah, Hollywood in the 80s really had broad definitions on ethnicity.
On everything. Yeah.
You got a movie called No Man's Land, which I've never heard of. Oh, it's written by Dick Wolf with Charlie Sheen. Rookie cop movie.
Oh!
You've got D.B. Sweeney and Randy Quaid, guy investigating a string of Porsche thefts.
As 2 guys who have spent time in the TV review trenches, were either of you aware of the 3rd universe Dick Wolf currently has going of the FBI's?
No.
There are 3 FBI shows that are about to cross over in addition to his 4 Chicago shows and his Law and Order universe. He's 3 fucking universes going.
I've somehow seen about 4 episodes of Dick Wolf television over the many years that it's been on.
The 3 FBI's, of course, are FBI, FBI Most Wanted, and FBI International, which is sort of weird considering that I feel like FBI, the whole point is that they're not international.
Absolutely.
Right. CIA. But I guess they have some international division. But it's just that thing where Dick Wolf is sitting in his chair and being like, I could use an extra $50 million.
Yes.
And I don't know these shows, but I'm guessing they probably have actors who you'd rather see, really good actors who you'd rather see as something that's not an FBI.
Love these actors. Missy Peregrine, Connie Nielsen, Celia Ward, Jeremy Sisto, Keisha Castle Hughes. Jesus Christ. I mean, I'm glad
this is my thing. I got some fucking ad that was Dick Wolf saying it's finally happening. All 3 FBI's are crossing over. And I was like, I didn't know there was 1 FBI motherfucker. And you're telling me finally all 3?
Just the sheer laziness too of CBS being like, we gave you like the extremely complex things like, naval cops, right? It's like, but you know what? We're just doing the FBI. You ever heard of them?
It's just called FBI? Really,
it's called
my man?
FBI.
Really? I just like, the thing I read was that NBC passed on it. What is the line of thinking after Dick Wolf has created the Law and Order universe and the Chicago universe, where he's like 3rd universe, I don't know, FBI, and they're like, Dick, we're going to pass on this one. We don't think there's any juice to it.
Well, I mean, network television's doing so well right now. They just Turner, someone else have this sure thing.
So well.
I mean, maybe he was coming to them with like, I see 3 shows here, and they're like, Dick, we've got 3 of these fucking Chicago shows.
We don't have
space.
But I just like, if Dick Wolf came to me and was like, I don't know, here's the pitch, cup of coffee, I'd be like, great, cup of coffee, and we'll have like cup of coffee Louisiana on backup. And like,
they're just finally launching NCIS Hawaii.
Cup of coffee cyber division. Yeah,
I know that's not Dick Wolf, but still. They've always got space for that.
Always space. Anything else in the box office worth mentioning?
Dirty Dancing.
Oh, a big hit.
Was this late? This is late in the run, right?
Very late in the run, but another massive, word of mouth, played all year type movie.
I'm forgetting the specifics and the names of the companies involved in this, but that movie was supposed to go to direct-to-video. There was a very cheap deal for it. Then they decided to give it a little theatrical run, and then the people who had paid nothing for the video rights when they thought it was only going to be a video movie made like hundreds of millions of dollars. It became one of the biggest VHS movies ever.
Pretty cool. Dirty Dancing. Anyway, yeah, that's it. That
is The Prince of Darkness. We can close the canister.
They should have tried closing the canister, to be honest.
That's the first thing they should have. They should have found the guy with the strongest wrists in the group and just said, do a reverse pickle jar on this bad boy. Right. Keith, thank you so much for being on the show. Long overdue.
Oh, yeah, of course. Anytime.
I've been meaning to ask you all episodes. You are wearing a Thing shirt right now, is that correct?
I'm wearing a Thing shirt from the comic book artist Erica Henderson, who
very cool.
Who is best known for Squirrel Girl. It's Kurt Russell at the end of the thing.
Nobody trusts anybody now. We're all very tired.
I had to stop wearing this shirt for a while in the middle of the election because my wife said it depressed her too much. But I thought I broke it out for this occasion.
I will say things really fucking been haunting me in the 3 weeks since we recorded it, where I just keep on going like, yep, that's the closest analogy to every single thing I feel on a daily basis. We're just living in a fucking Carpenter movie now.
He knows. He knew.
Everyone listen to the next picture show. It's not the last picture show. It's the next one. And it's going to keep going forever and ever and ever.
Can I do a quick plug too?
Please, any plug.
Plug everything, Keith.
Plug anything and everything.
Okay, well, I'm a freelance writer. I'm all over the place. You can read me at GQ and Vulture and TV Guide, sometimes at The Ringer. I'm on Twitter at KPhipps3000. But
it's always a pleasant surprise when a new Phipps byline pops up under any tree. I'm always excited to read it.
I do my best to excite the fans. But you're going to actually, this is actually good timing because by the time this episode airs, my longtime collaborator and friend, Scott Tobias, and I are launching a newsletter on Substack called The Reveal. The URL will be thereveal.substack.com. And it's kind of like our attempt to keep going with some of the stuff we used to do at the AVClub and the Dissolve, and kind of follow our own instincts in terms of film criticism. So it would be like reviews and essays, historical deep dives, lists, that kind of stuff. If you like what we've done in the past, you should sign up for it. It's going to be fun.
I just found out about this. I'm very excited.
I will sign up. I mourn the Dissolve on a daily basis. Whenever I see another stupid fucking argument going around based on clickbaity headlines, I'm like, I wish. It
was nice, and I'm glad. And we had like a nice community there of people who are actually smart, and the comic section was good. And the archives remain up there. They occasionally disappear, and I have send out panicked emails to people at Condé Nast. At some point, I'm afraid they will disappear forever, but it's there for now.
I both reread old Dissolve pieces on a regular basis and discover old pieces I had missed at the time. It's always fucking worthwhile. It was the best.
Well, we want to keep that spirit alive with The Reveal, hence the name a little bit. So, yeah, good.
We should also mention your book, Age of Cage, is coming out early next year.
Yeah. Did you guys get copies? You're supposed to get copies.
We did.
Okay, good.
Did. I did.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out in October, and then COVID production delays pushed it back. It's going to be March 29th. It is 40 years of Hollywood through the career of Nicolas Cage. So it's about Nicolas Cage movies and big changes in Hollywood as reflected through his career. And I hope people like it. If you like Nicolas Cage films, I read about every single one of them. Sometimes just a sentence, but often a lot more.
So you have watched every single one now?
I have, except for that Christmas Carol film from the early aughts. Not the Jim Carrey one, the other one that no one's seen.
Yes, the Jimmy T. Murakami Christmas Carol, which is Kate Winslet's in as well, has a weirdly stacked cast.
Yep. Kate Winslet did a pop song for it that charted in Britain.
Oh, wow. You know what? All right, stop the presses. I'm going to go back and do a whole chapter on this. But no, I watched everything else up through, including all the Redbox era stuff.
So this is my fucking thing, Keith, is 10 years ago, my friend and I tried to watch every single one for a magazine that went under before we got to publish our thing on it. And I watched at least all but 5 up until 2011.
Right.
The Christmas Carol was one of the ones I hadn't seen. There's what's it called? The Boy in Blue. fucking rowing drama.
It is about it's about a famous Canadian rower.
Right.
It is not good.
There's Firebirds I hadn't seen. Like it was
bad.
It was a few. 5. It was only 5 I hadn't seen out of what was like 40 at that time.
So you saw, you saw Zandali, you saw
absolutely
West. Oh,
absolutely. Zandali is incredible. Yes.
Yeah.
But I had a near comprehensive view, and the moment that ends is like the next month Seeking Justice comes out, and it's like now he's going to do 12 movies a month, and most of them go straight to fucking Taxi TV.
Yep, and I watched them all kind of in a mad rush to finish the book. It's interesting though because there are some decent movies in there.
This is my question I want to ask you quickly, not to cut off your stream here.
Sure.
Of the post 2011 Red Box run, right? Discounting legitimate, quote unquote, legitimate films he's made in that time. What is the best and what is the worst in your opinion?
Okay. Well, is Mom and Dad too big a title for this?
I would say by a hair.
Yeah. So people. Well, it's good. It's actually quite good. And,
I like Mom and Dad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. So the best one that you probably haven't seen is The Trust, which co-stars Elijah Wood.
Yes. I've heard good things about that.
Really stylish debut by this filmmaking team that I don't know that's done anything else. But it's this Las Vegas heist film. It's really nasty. And Jerry Lewis plays Nicolas Cage's father for a scene, which is not like an amazing scene, but it's just kind of cool to see that because Lewis is one of Cage's idols, so that's. But there's some other decent ones in there too. The worst one is a film called Rage.
Oh, yep.
Did you see that one?
I have not. I avoided that one.
So avoid that one. It is he does a lot of revenge movies because those are easy to make and easy to sell.
Mm-hmm.
But I refer to them, there's kind of like a Mad Libs period where it's like, where is this revenge happening? Is he a cop or is he a gangster? And who is the bad guy? In this case, he's a former gangster in the budget-friendly location of Mobile, Alabama, the site of so many thrillers that you love. He doesn't really phone it in that often. I know people say he phones it in, but there's always like something to latch. There's usually something to latch on.
I think he literally did not phone it in once until 2011. That's when like the financial troubles stack up and like 2 out of every 8 movies are just sleepwalked.
It's rough watching his filmography just expand, just a year by year, 5 a time. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like that's really 2011 is when the sleepwalking happens, and there's usually something going on in those later films, and sometimes like I'm gonna make sure I get the title right. There's so many of them, but it was a film called not Looking Glass. That's actually one of the better ones. A film called Between Worlds, where he was obviously just given full license to do whatever he wants to, including it's a fairly graphic love scenes for the first time in a while in Nicolas Cage's. But
interesting.
There's including like at one point he's reading a book whose author is Nicolas Cage. It doesn't necessarily hold together, but it's a lot of fun. That movie, as fun as a movie in which choking plays a major role can be.
Wow. I just want to put a bow on this by saying, Keith, you questioned what the promising filmmakers behind The Trust have done since then, the Brewer brothers. And it seems like they have primarily done music videos for the Chainsmokers.
Sure, why not?
Hey,
it's a
get
living.
that money. Smoke those chains.
I need to throw out also that the Pig is amazing. I'm sure you probably discussed it.
Well, Pig is incredible.
Yeah,
Pig's good.
But
Pig seems to suggest him emerging possibly from this dark phase.
But he's had a couple though. I mean, like Mandy, he's had like every year he's had one movie where he's clearly giving a shit and working with an iconoclastic filmmaker.
Right.
Agreed.
Right.
People like the Prisoners of the Ghostland movie, but not universally. That one's sort of more of a tweener.
Yeah, it's fun. I found it kind of a little wearying after a while, but but it's worth it.
Is Willy's Wonderland worthwhile?
It's worthwhile to watch Cage in it because it's a wordless performance and he really commits to it. It's a movie where it's basically a ripoff of Five Nights at Freddy's, best I can tell.
Yeah, right.
And it's a movie where they do not have a budget to make the movie they need to make. It seems to take place in 2 black rooms, almost entirely. But he's fun in it. It's trying a little too hard to be a cult classic right off the bat and doesn't quite get there.
Note taken, and I'm very excited to rip in the book. And thank you so much for sending us copies.
I'll enjoy. It's not. I need to. I have a little extra time, so I'm going to write about Pig, so that you're getting a rare. A limited
Pig is
edition,
a good button, though.
Not
Pre-Pig
final
edition.
Yeah,
right.
Collector's item.
And next picture show, like you said, you guys take a new movie, you take an old movie that's thematically linked in some way, right? You pair them up. It's a lot of AVClub and Dissolve, right?
Yeah, it's me and Scott Tobias and Genevieve Koski and Tasha Robinson and various guests. And we never had you guys on. Maybe we need to figure out the perfect episode and have you on.
Sure.
Anytime. Happy to do it. And I gotta say, Keith, thank you for doing the show, and thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you to Marie Barty for our social media, Lane Montgomery, and The Great American Novel for our theme song, Joe Bowen and Pat Reynolds for our artwork, JJ Birch, Nick Lariano for our research, AJ McKeon, Alex Barron for our editing. Go to blankies.reddit.com for some real nerdy shit. Go to patreon.com/blankcheck for blank check special features, where we are now still doing the Mummy.
I believe so, yes. Still got plenty of Mummy.
We still got plenty of Mummy left. I think we're getting ready to do the Tom Cruise Mummy up next. Is that possible? No, you get to the Tomb of the Dragon Emperor first, and then the Tom Cruise
Gotta
Mummy.
get there.
Did you do the old Universal mummies?
We would split that into its own thing, because there are enough of them. That's one of the few Universal franchises that actually had multiple movies in one strict continuity.
And it does. And the continuity, it gets weird. It's kind of fun to watch them in order.
Frankenstein and Mummy are the two I'd really like to do, and I'm pushing very hard to do one of the. I say pushing hard makes it sound like David's resisting. He's not, but it's a pet project of mine that I'd like to do one of the Universal Monster series next year, and perhaps doing Modern Mummy as a prelude to that.
Maybe we do it at Halloween time again. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That'd be fun. Tune in next week for They Live, which they do.
Yes, they live. They do live, and that's
the titular movie.
Going to be a good episode.
It's going to be a good episode. We're not going to say who the guests are, but it's going to be a good episode. And I did say yes, plural.
Right. And guest plural. And tune in, listen to our Patreon, and that's it. We're done. Yeah, Griff, take us away.
Yeah, that's it. We're done. And as always, that's it. I don't know. What do you want from me?